dangerous. A kiss you can't repeal. But wait for regret to come. It will cover you. It will tear the fabric of your nature. I walk without a name. Bathe in the lakes of fire. The snakes and liars of yore, they wore your face. Endure. Friends on the path of knowing are growing in your space. But wait for regret to come. It will cover you. It will tear the fabric of your nature. I walk without a name. When night is falling and all the lights they flicker fade, reflections crawl through the mirrors. A distant calling, a hum inside the current's face. The silence sprawl ever nearer. It's in the cracks in the wall, never watching you into the back of the phone. And when everything is upside down, when you're yelling but you make no sound, life is gonna spin you round. Whoa, and get a little bit stranger. When everything is upside down, a tremor in the underground. The nights are gonna take this town. Whoa, and get a little bit stranger, stranger. Push the kinetics, a troubled spirit breaking through. A bitter debt to repay now. But don't you dread it, a friend would never lie to you, helping you get through the pain now. And when everything is upside down, when you're yelling but you make no sound, life is gonna spin you round. Whoa, and get a little bit stranger. When everything is upside down, a tremor Fires far, journeys not remembered now. Tired, scarred, kneel among the embers now. Breathe life into this hollowed vessel of rebirth. Over and over, beaten night, the peaceful earth, to light the fires fall.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Final Show. I'm John, the executive producer here, and I've just got a few pre-show notes for you. First of all, I want to let everybody know that our addresses have changed. Our Twitch channel has changed from Senstaku to twitch.tv/FinalShowFilms, and our YouTube channel has also changed to youtube.com/FinalShowFilms. Next, we want to thank our $20 tier supporters on Patreon, which is patreon.com/FFilms, by the way, if you want to go throw a couple bucks our way. That's going to be Cat, Waterflame, Antitonic, Samantha Bates, and Maureen Montee. Thank you guys for that. Also, our website is in the process of getting updated, so go take a look at finalshowfilms.com. We've got Mara and Jeremy are working on updating all of our stuff there, making it look nice and like a modern website, and frankly, they know what they're doing far better than I or Austin ever did. So if you want to check out the things that are changing over there, you go do that. Follow us on Twitter at Final Show Films for updates for all future things, including things that are going on with our website and going on with the Patreon page, and things that are going on live as we stream them, as well as our podcasts and everything else. So thank you very much for watching. Y'all have a good day. And we're live.
Hello, everyone. That's a conversation that you just missed. I am William, and I am the storyteller for Terminus Tendency, this New World of Darkness Hunter the Vigil campaign. Chronicle is the World of Darkness term for those. And joining me today, we have Jack.
Hey, everybody, I'm Jack. I'm playing Eamon Mulcahy, the Malleus Maleficarum and Irish murder hobo.
And John.
I'm John. I'm playing Sean Mulcahy, the true Irish murder hobo, and the one whose accent constantly roams about the UK.
So how can you be the true Irish one if you're not always the Irish one? And Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm playing Drew, the Lucifuge, who's looking at the educational allowances for Twitch. Because I feel like that's where that would be.
And Holly.
Hi, I'm Holly. I'm playing Astrid, the Knights of St. Adrian.
Yep. And Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I am playing Nina Sky, Union rock singer.
And Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig. I'm playing Paul Spanner Phillips, the Aegis Kaidoru acquisitions expert.
Yep. And when last we left off, the group had staked out and begun to try and figure out a plan on how to observe this meeting between vampires and werewolves that had been pointed out by Jonas Orion in the session prior. When considering how they were going to get in and how they were going to try and observe, one of them decided that they just wanted to walk in and have a conversation with Jack Cross about what was going on, because Jack Cross had previously been at least cordial with the group and willing to have a conversation, and determined that from Jack Cross that he was meeting with these vampires because they supposedly had knowledge of where his kidnapped mate was. And were willing to direct him, if not, or lead him to the location where he could retrieve his mate in exchange for safe passage out of this meeting and away from danger zones, because it seems that these group of vampires do not want to have anything to do with the Colonel and his regime of vampires. Deciding that they were going to try and find a way to watch this meeting from afar, even though Jack Cross had given his express wishes that he would like these vampires to be left alone and that they would be under his protection until they were done, until their business with him was concluded. They had an encounter with a changeling by the name of Shakes, who offered a deal. In exchange for some mysterious essence from anyone who was willing, Shakes offered to cloak their presence in the meeting and allow them to witness and listen in unobserved. Only a couple of people, including Jonas, offered this offered this essence that was requested on Shakes' end of the deal. But most of them, with the exception of Eamon and Spanner, benefited from this protection, whereas Eamon and Spanner decided to go under the benedictions, the blessing of the shepherd, from Eamon himself. Which proved interesting, as the leader of the vampires was not able to see through Shakes' disguising of the group, but was able to notice Eamon and Spanner through having quite a lot of perception dice. But having learned that this vampire was indeed someone close to Astrid, in fact her brother, there was a very tense conversation between the groups before the vampires and werewolves both left to find this location in the sewers near the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport to retrieve Jack Cross's mate, being followed shortly after by the rest of the group in the various vehicles, including the van. But before we get back to that, the thing that I've been neglecting to do every couple of sessions, in a secluded bunker in an undisclosed location. So, I suppose at this point is, you'll understand me, where things start to get a bit complicated. Of the many people at this briefing, one of them kind of speaks up. You don't say. We've got vampires and werewolves working together to deal with some darker force, and hunters supposedly observing and making deals with more strange creatures. Yes, to say things are complicated is a bit of an understatement. I get what you're going at. But, well, let's just say that important things are coming. Those of you who've read ahead in the report know that this situation is just sort of scraping the iceberg, and things only get a little bit more fucked as we keep going. So let's get down to the dark delving, shall we? And with that, we join the group of you that are within the church van, which I believe is most of you.
Astrid's on her bike right now.
Yes, Astrid's on the motorcycle. And are you riding with Astrid, or are you on your own?
I'm on my own.
On your own bike.
Yeah, actually, we're kind of split up from what I remember, because it was Spanner and Eamon in the truck with all the gas.
Yep.
Yes.
2 bikes and everybody else in the church van, I think.
Yes.
Unless Drew objected, in which case...
Well, Drew would have objected, but I wasn't here to play Drew, so whatever happened, happened.
You could be in the truck with us.
Okay, cool.
So it's literally just Sean in the van.
Oh, Sean and Colleen.
And Colleen.
You know what? Then I think probably Paul would have swapped with Drew.
All right, so Paul and Sean and Colleen in the van, and Drew and Eamon in the gas truck.
I guess that makes sense, given that I am the person with the ability to create fires.
Yeah, and I think Paul has made the detonators, and then when we were putting the inflammatory person in with the inflammable materials, I think that would be a good time for Paul to say, "Well, I'm going to ride in the other car. I'll see you all when we get there."
Oh, relax. I only do that if I want to.
I love how I managed to turn to coerce all of these entirely respectable people into becoming terrorists.
I love how the words inflammable and flammable mean the same thing.
Yes, they do.
I'm going to contest your definition of respectable people by pointing to the 2 hitmen in the group.
We are
I wasn't
respectable
talking about them.
I was going to say, yeah. We were definitely not included in that, because I can guarantee that Eamon has already done a little bit of homebrewed terrorism back in Ireland himself.
Yeah,
So
I mean, are you also including the career criminal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am absolutely respectable. Does not indicate whether you participate in illegal activity or
Fair
not.
enough, then.
Sean's real fucking respectable. Come on.
He's a man of the cloth.
Exactly.
That doesn't help.
I think we've
Did I remind you
established
of
that
what
your
eating
very
faith
position is kind of sacrilegious in a lot of ways, but
To the Satanists, that's the opposite of respectable.
I mean,
it's also fair.
does it help that I never went to? Does it help that I never went to school for it?
So, is there any conversations that need to happen while you guys are en route and following the vampires? I know that Paul, you had just used one of your one-eyed kings to spy on a conversation between Archer and one mysterious vampire who is driving the vehicle that he's in by the name of Alexander.
Yes. So Paul is probably sort of out for the count while everybody else is having any conversations.
Do we have any form of communication between the vehicles other than our cell phones?
I feel like Eamon and Sean probably have at least some form of communication. You might be their cell phone.
We definitely have walkie-talkies.
Yeah, we
established that
have
in the thing.
walkies.
I didn't know if we had them currently.
I mean, I used mine at least once during the last.
Yes, the two of you have
Chapter,
your
so-
walkie-talkies on you.
Given I wasn't here to do this, you can say no, but I probably would have had Crowley ride in the church van.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's not so much communication as potential spying opportunities, but it's a thing.
You have a demon dog in the van.
Yeah.
I've had worse. Who's
Very
leading?
nice demon dog.
Who? I mean,
Very fluffy.
the demon dog is far superior to the vampires, to the multiple vampires we've had in this band as well.
That's fair.
Who's leading this convoy, and how are we following them?
Which convoy? The vampire and werewolf convoy, or the convoy of you
Ours.
guys?
The one that we are
Astrid.
in.
Astrid is leading.
Astrid is leading, and are we like following them visually? Do we have a tracker?
You're following Astrid visually.
All right. Over
Because
the
Astrid is hopefully following them visually.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So basically, if they turn around, they see a line of cars.
One of which is a van.
Okay.
It's two motorcycles, a truck, and a van.
Over the walkie-talkie.
We're gonna roll this trucking
To
convoy.
So, brother, I've got a quick question for you.
Aye, late on me, lad.
What happens if the vampires that we're following just so happen to turn around? Like in the
Well, we've got three. We've got several barrels of flammable liquids that we're going to employ.
Well, no, what I'm saying is perhaps we should approach this from a slightly more subtle direction rather than following up their arse.
Oh, aye. No, my plan was a little bit.
You do know that the vampires and werewolves are both A, aware that you are there, and B, suspect you would probably be following them anyway.
Yeah, there's no secret about this one. We popped out right in the middle of their big meeting. Oh, did we forget to mention that part?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That also
Yeah.
doesn't change my statement. So
Once we get onto the interstate, I figure we'll give them a little bit of a buffer, and then
I did mention a tense conversation was had between this group and the other
yeah,
guys.
I didn't realize that the tense conversation was had literally in the middle of their fucking deal.
Blame your brother.
It happened in the worst possible circumstances because I've played with you fuckers.
But
Yes.
all I will say is it was not intentional. And
The problem is the worst possible circumstances. There are about 4 or 5 different variants of the worst possible circumstances.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
Oh.
Well, that kind of depends on whether or not we're gonna just let the people who don't want anything to do with things have nothing to do with things.
I mean, do we know where they're going?
they are going
You're
to...
not on a walkie-talkie.
Oh, this is walkie-talkie.
Yeah, this is the
not over
walkie-talkies.
phone.
Yeah. No. this
Okay,
is
fine.
walkie-talkie.
I
Although-
didn't want to explain the situation to you anyways.
Because you're on a motorcycle and it's impossible to talk to people on the phone when you're on a motorcycle.
Have you not heard of hands-free?
Yes,
Yeah,
I've also heard of wind blowing.
Doesn't matter how loud I yell. I'm on a fucking motorcycle. It's fine.
I've tried to talk hands-free on a motorcycle before. It's impossible. Too much noise. Anyways, yeah, this is on walkie-talkie. Yeah, do we know where they're going? Eamon.
You're muted,
You're
Jack.
muted, Jack.
They're headed southwards, somewhere's down by the airport from what they said.
So we're just gonna follow them on the interstate. Maybe pull back a bit, or do we want to take a different route?
I mean, I haven't been in this town for a very long time, but I feel like taking a separate route would probably put us at least a half hour or so behind. And I'd rather have us all assembled there roughly at the same time.
All right.
Unclear on our continued motivation in this case.
Quite honestly, I'm not sure what our motivations are at this moment. These folks don't want to fight, and it seems like they're working out a deal amongst themselves, and we've got other Nazi vampires to deal with, so...
Well, this one's for Astrid, honestly.
Can I have finished eavesdropping and be back in the conversation, or what?
Yeah.
Paul sits up in the seat and says, also, let's not forget the fact that there's something out there far worse than both the vampires and the werewolves that's got them teaming up. So might not be a bad idea, at least, to keep an eye on it, see exactly what it is, make sure it's not getting out and threatening the rest of the area. We've got enough people coming down on us, looking for, and he kind of glances towards Colleen and says, looking for whatever it is that's drawn them all to the area, without having to worry about something new down underground. So I'm certainly in favor of keeping an eye on it. And again, don't think we had a lot of people in favor of it, but if things go tits up, at least we can blow the entrances and block all of them in down below.
Fair
We
enough.
can all call for backup.
Fair enough. Even if we're just watching.
Well, we have a good number of creepy crawlies all headed in the same direction. I personally would prefer to keep an eye on them and know where they are rather than have to worry about them creeping up on us later.
Hit a pop.
I get why that, but like if this is a faction that, absent us directly provoking them, either want out or are on marginally allied with us terms in regards to the overall conflict, maybe not walking up with barrels of them to blow them into a sewer might be better for us. Like, this isn't a case where we don't know what they want or what they're doing.
Well, I'm certainly not suggesting it's plan A, but I'm a big believer in redundancy, real belt and suspenders sort of approach.
Right, so I think we're not rolling up on them exactly with bombs. Just having them nearby. But I think Drew and I are on the same page here, where it's, don't necessarily want to start a fight that we don't need.
Yeah. I think I've made it abundantly clear that among our little group, I'm certainly not the one to go in fist swinging, but like I said, just a big fan of insurance, that's all.
Does
Yes. You had a question?
threat isn't insurance, it's provocation. In this instance.
Well, I'm not suggesting we advertise that's something that we have in mind. Look, trust me, I absolutely take your meaning. I can't speak for everyone, but it's not my intention to get there and roll out with guns and bombs blazing. We'll just keep them in the truck, use them if we need them. It could very well be that they would like to use them if whatever this is as nasty as they've described.
All right. It's about at this point. You've been driving for a while. Both the convoys of vampires and werewolves begin to arrive into the highway traffic. At which point it becomes significantly more difficult to keep up with them. I'm going to need a drive check. We'll say. Let's see, keeping up with people moving through heavy traffic.
Dexterity and drive.
I think it's usually wits and drive.
Yeah, I'd say wits and drive to track people through traffic.
I turn my brain off when I drive it.
How often do you follow people on long periods of
Don't
time?
Don't answer that on a live stream.
I have. I cannot.
No,
I cannot
answer that
provide. I
live.
cannot provide an answer that may or may not incriminate myself.
One success.
I'm following Astrid.
Yep, you're following Astrid.
One success.
0 successes.
Oh boy.
I'm heading to the airport.
Fortunately, half of you succeeded, which is enough for the other half of you to follow the people that succeeded.
No. Sean, that's a down ramp. No. Stay to the
Pothole.
left. No. We drive on this side over here. No.
I love how there's potholes on the interstate.
There are potholes on the interstate.
There
Yes,
are
I know.
there are potholes on 285.
Yep.
It sucks.
Oh, well, yeah, no. If we're on 285, yes. No, I will believe that.
There are potholes on the highway.
But you're following these guys on 285 southbound.
Tell me, do we run across a stretch of highway that is shut down for filming a zombie-based television show?
No, but you do come across at least 3 different instances of road work.
Okay.
And 2 separate tipped over trucks. That have just
One of which is on fire.
No. They're never on fire. They're typically cargo trucks, and they're just on their side. The gas trucks are careful. The cargo trucks don't care.
This is why they were talking about building separate roads next to the highways for the trucks to use, but
Yes.
they never did.
Jeez.
No, they just spend a lot of money on it.
But Astrid, you're just laser focused on the car that you know that has Archer in it.
Mhm.
And Eamon, you are keeping an eye on the pack of vehicles as a general whole.
Mm-hmm.
And Nina, you're following Astrid. Sean, you're following Eamon.
Sean is very excited that he can get in the HOV lane.
Look, I have a playlist to focus on, so I can be pumped for this. I need to get in the right emotional state.
But the drive continues on for another 45 minutes to an hour. 285 traffic.
Yep.
which means at one point we all stop.
Yeah, at one
There's
point
like-
there's at
there's
least
like-
one dead stop
There's like
in
5
the middle
minutes.
of the highway.
There's 5 minutes of a lane of cars of werewolf, vampire, us. just in a line, sitting, waiting, drumming fingers.
No.
And then eventually it picks up again, and you get past whatever was congesting, and you get moving again.
It was a tipped over truck.
Yeah. And about 45 minutes to about an hour later,
Can
the
you tell we have gripes with Atlanta traffic?
the convoy of werewolves and vampires pulls off of the highway near the exit to Hartsfield Jackson, and passes by Hartsfield Jackson, heading south to warehouse districts. In fact, this is very near to your safe house, Nina.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
In fact, there is a moment where you just sort of instinctively, oh yeah, that's my safe house, like right down that road as you pass it by.
I just keep going because I'm used to driving. Yeah. When you say safe house, you mean my home?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yeah, the one that's above a warehouse.
Yes. Okay. Oh, great.
In fact, it's only about a 10-minute drive away from your house is where the vampires and the werewolves pull off of the main road onto a side road and then follow that side road to basically an abandoned lot that used to be for construction, but it seems to have been abandoned, and so there's just gravel and equipment laying around. At which point all of the vehicles sort of gather in this parking lot, park, and the vampires and werewolves proceed to exit their vehicles.
What are the buildings that are around this lot?
I bet you one of them's a Chick-fil-A.
No, it's an empty lot. Chick-fil-A's get buildings around the real fucking. There is no empty space next. Not in Atlanta.
Blockbuster video.
That's what the empty space was.
I was about to say. Around this spot, it looks mostly like warehouse and businesses that are occupying warehouses. Like you've got a sign company, you got probably a mechanic shop, a random tech supply business that is just operating out of a warehouse.
What time is it?
It's probably about midnight.
So I'm parking the van next to one of those businesses, not in view.
Mm-hmm.
I'm parking the truck full of homemade napalm. Basically across the road, but directly in front of the access to the lot.
Okay.
So that it will be a very short drive if we need to get flammable materials to wherever they're going down.
Astrid's gonna park over there as well.
Cool. Nina, I'm assuming you're parking with Astrid.
Yep.
And so as you all disembark, and are you going to wait for them to disappear down wherever they're going, or are you just going to meet them there publicly?
I'm gonna.
I hope we're waiting, given previous conversations, but
Eamon's getting out and seeing what Astrid's plan is.
Yeah, this is all following. This is her show.
Astrid's gonna wait. She's
All right.
not going to confront them.
Cool.
Everyone can give me a wits and composure.
Also, I'm looking for a place to.
visual.
Yes.
As I get out, adjust my coat. I'm looking for ways to climb up onto buildings.
Nina's busy smoking, apparently.
One success.
I mean, she was going to be regardless, but
2 successes.
Checking her phone.
Nice.
Eamon's getting his golf bag together again.
4 successes.
It makes
Hot
sense.
damn.
It makes sense that Paul would notice this because he knew about it ahead of time. So, Paul, Drew, Sean, and of course Astrid. As you're watching the group that is heading out of the various vehicles, you notice getting out of the car with Archer is definitely someone who's out of place in the Atlanta crowd, because he looks like something out of a Renaissance fair. Is sort of tall, well-dressed, pale figure with long, sort of silvery white hair, a very neatly trimmed goatee, sort of open-breasted vest, with these very well-kept pants. The most modern thing he's wearing is a very beaten-up, long coat, as he steps out of the vehicle with Archer and sort of extends the hand. You did not see this vampire during the meeting. He definitely was not one of those present, and he sort of stands out as he has an air of authority and experience that sort of has everyone immediately referring to him, even though from what you understand, Archer is the one in charge.
I lean over to Paul. Who's this Dracula-looking motherfucker?
Any indication from what I overheard when we were driving along, it seems to be a mentor of sorts to our friend there, and he looks back at Eamon and says, "Is that the sort of thing that vampires do? Do they have a training program or?"
Oh, can I make an intelligence and occult?
You can certainly.
I will make an intelligence and occult roll.
Wait,
Can I
who's
do
a
this?
what now?
I'm not going to, because I figure Paul really does not know vampires, and he is definitely going to ask the 2 guys who apparently kill them as a hobby.
Oh, aye, there's a bit where, whoever makes you a vampire is sometimes in charge of making sure you don't fuck shite up for the rest of them.
That's about as far as your knowledge of that goes, yeah.
That might be Master Ashwin's daddy-o, as it were.
I shrug and continue looking for a ladder.
Astrid, you know that too. You also know that is not the vampire that took your brother.
Okay.
What are we babbling about now? Sorry, I was.
Power dynamics.
Oh,
And now that it's pointed out, you do see this very sort of like Spanish nobility looking vampire across the way.
We're talking about about vampire daddies, apparently.
yeah.
It's
I want.
not the vampire that raised Archer, though.
When he dies, I dibs on his clothing.
Well, whoever this Final Fantasy looking motherfucker is.
Mini zippers.
Huh?
No, I'm sorry, that was out of character.
Looks like he's the one to keep an eye on if things are about to go south or sideways or
You do remember you caught his name from conversation. Paul was according to Archer, his name is Alexander.
Archie was calling him Alexander. I'm not sure, of course, if that's a real name, but certainly it's the one that he was using in conversation.
I will happily keep an eye on it.
I like how both Sean and Eamon reference 2 different videos. When referring to this person as a X-looking motherfucker.
And I will point out for whatever small amount of use it might be, they seemed fairly genuine in their conversation, at least as far as they're concerned about whatever it is that they're here to take care of. So I don't have any particular concern that they're here to make any sort of bargain. I think that they are looking to take care of it. Now, what it may be, still no idea. But fairly convinced that they are genuine, at least with their desire to get rid of whatever might be down there.
You ever seen that film, the Tremors? I bet you it's one of those fuckers.
Oh Jesus!
Graboid.
Fucking graboids.
So
I've definitely not seen that movie.
while you're watching what's going on over there, you see Alexander sort of walk over to Jack Cross, and the two of them appear to have some form of brief conversation. And then there's a moment where Alexander sort of extends his arm to the side and offers a very deep, very elegant bow, and sort of stands up again and pulls from the inside of his coat a handgun. And holds it up and pulls a magazine out and extends it to Jack Cross. And those of you who, Paul, with your 4 successes, you catch the gleam of silver.
Okay. And what does Jack Cross do?
Jack Cross has a sort of like expression of, he sort of like takes a half lean back, looks at Alexander, nods. Alexander puts the magazine back in the handgun, stows it back in his jacket. And the two of them proceed to walk over towards a cordoned off section of this building site. A few moments later, the two of them seem to find what they're looking for, and with a very much sort of a after you flourish from Alexander, Jack Cross just sort of leans down and with one hand rips up a sewer grate. As it lifts up off of the ground, he sort of waves to the others and offers a whistle as the vampires and werewolves begin to file down into the sewers.
Bet you couldn't arm wrestle him, Eamon.
Not unless he's had at least a few more drinks than I have.
Paul says, sounds like they may be hunting some sort of even worse werewolves.
Yeah, I think that was communicated all around, though, wasn't it, earlier?
Yeah, it was mentioned.
Yeah.
I was candidly saying that more for the benefit of the players who weren't
Fair
here.
enough. So, worse werewolves than werewolves is what we're saying.
If you can imagine it.
I mean, I haven't had horrible experiences with werewolves myself. But they're fucking werewolves.
I mean, the mind goes straight to like some sort of vampire werewolf. I don't know if that's a thing.
Yes, it is. They're fucking ridiculous, and they're abominations not just in title.
I didn't know that vampires were a thing. I didn't know that was a thing.
I know they are. Sean doesn't.
Abominations is the 4th worst thing that the World of Darkness ever fucking did.
I do love that we have this list from greatest to worst things.
Yes.
I legitimately did not know that werepires were a thing. Thank you for that information, Jeremy.
Don't they have all the weaknesses of both and none of the strengths?
No, absolutely not.
I thought they did.
They nerfed them significantly, I think, in Revise or at some point. But no, there was a point where they did have the weaknesses of both, but they had the strengths of both too. The problem was they couldn't like go into the Umber or anything. But still, they were a werewolf with disciplines.
It may be in the V20 version that I read.
And
yeah, I
yes.
think there's something different in the V20 version that's
and in the 20th anniversary version, they like
maybe I'm wrong about that.
They lose access to their disciplines, and they also lose access to their guru rights. And so,
for the record, the ranking goes from 1 to 4. World of Darkness Gypsy, Dirty Secrets of the Black Hand, everything system related to Wraith.
Yep.
Abominations.
Anyways.
Okay. So, as the vampires and werewolves begin to disappear down the sewer grate, what do you guys do?
So,
I guess I'm looking at Astrid.
Yeah.
She's gonna give it just a minute and then follow after them.
I'll look to the nearest of the twins. Do you happen to have additional walkie-talkies?
Do you?
No. You only have the 2.
Okay, something to
Yeah,
Or
adding
we
that to the shopping list. But
When we take these
we'll hold out a hand at you.
At me?
So I'm going to stay behind so that, as my accent slips again. I'm going to stay behind so that we have somebody watching in case somebody comes behind and closes it the hole after everybody.
Yeah, that's my thought. One should be here. One walkie-talkie should go down.
So I'll hold on. Eamon wants to go down.
Oh, Aben is right on Astrid's heels.
You want to
Never mind.
you
That
want-
was now not necessary.
You want to stay back with me, Drew? Or do you want to go with them?
I'll stick up here.
Paul? Tina?
I was supposed to be keeping an eye on dude who's wearing my clothing, so I'm going down.
Paul, what are you up to?
Paul is probably not quite visibly, but having sort of a Smeagol Gollum conversation, like,
But up here it's safe, precious. Yes, but there's delicious. There's things down below.
and I think eventually we'll turn and look at Colleen and say, I assume you're staying here, right?
Well, up here in the middle of nowhere where I'm potentially exposed to something coming along, or down there where there's a lot of people with guns to get in the way, but there's also the thing that they have those guns for. It's kind of a toss-up.
I'll stay wherever you decide to go. If you want to stay up here, then an extra set of eyes. I'll be here with you and with Eamon. If you want to go down below, then I'll come with you.
The vampires down there, I know, don't want to be around the Colonel, so let's go down with them. Just because, the Colonel's vampires are somewhere out here.
And I'll get to shoot them.
All right. And then Paul will nod at her and turn to Eamon and say, "You sure you're all right by yourself?"
I'm Sean, but thank you. Yes, we're fine.
Are you guys doing this to me on purpose?
No, he's correct.
No, yeah,
He's Sean.
I'm sorry.
No, it's the best inadvertent recurring joke. That
Why
this
do you
series
think
has
I keep
so far.
saying the twin?
Right.
Whichever twin.
All right. You know what? Let's keep that in character. Paul's like, right. Sorry. Are you going to try to get somewhere vertical? What's the plan?
I nod and I point up at the building that we're next to.
All right. Just a moment. Paul will turn and reach back into the van for his bag of goodies, and we'll dig through it, and we'll come back out with a grappling hook on a length of nylon rope and some pythons, and pass them and say, "Here, just in case they come in handy."
Grappling hook.
I'll be sure to put him to good use.
It's not like a hydraulic thing. It's literally just
It's
a
a-
rope hook with the,
It's a hand tosser, yeah.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm looking for a ladder. Still.
Paul said, "Oh yeah, absolutely. It's more for coming down in a hurry than it is for getting up."
Yep.
And if you need to leave in a hurry, just leave it behind. Don't worry. I know you're good for it. And he'll reach over and pat him on the shoulder.
You should probably hurry up. I say, pointing at the other 3 that have already gone.
All right. Be safe. Let us know if you see anything. And he'll hurry off after Colleen and the
I
others.
wave the walkie-talkie. Storyteller, do I find a ladder?
Yeah. If you look around, you can find a way up to like roof access for one of these nearby buildings.
Yeah, basically just wanting roof access that covers the lot and the road, so that I can see both without having to do too much.
Oh, Eamon would have left Sean with the keys to the truck.
Good to know.
Can I find a roof that is within range that I could use my fire spell on the thing, but out of range that I would be in that explosion?
Oh, on the fire truck?
Yes.
It's the fire truck.
I mean, what else
That's
do you
actually
call
a
it?
really good idea. We have detonators. We have detonators that have been put on the barrels, right? I'm going to while after you guys have gone, and while Drew is sort of scouting out for a good vantage point, I am going to move the truck so that it is in the entrance to the lot, so that if for some reason a band of seven redneck vampire trucks come up, they have to stop and move the truck to get into the lot, which provides a very nice choke point.
That's fairly good. Yeah.
And while that's happening, Drew, yes, you can find a spot that is a good enough vantage that you should be able to blast the oil tank with your fire without getting caught in
I know we have detonators, but
just in case.
Just in case, I'm the backup fire.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good point. Who wants the detonator?
I'll
Because
take
it's
it.
not going to do any damn good if I take it with me down below.
Sniper hitman, not the
Okay.
The sniper will take the detonator.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you the room up.
So yeah, basically move the truck into a blocking position, and then move the van further away, and then get up on a roof and keep watch. And then over the walkie-talkie, be sure to let us know when you're coming back out. There might be things on fire when you.
I mean, that's what it's here for.
And so when you guys finish that conversation, some of you head over, and the sewer grate has conveniently been left open for you.
Is Jonas still with us?
Subtle fucking hunt.
What was that, Holly?
Is Jonas still with us?
Yes, Jonas is with you as well.
Right. Well, Astrid's gonna go down.
So you all make your way down and splash into this ankle-deep sewage underneath the roadway. And as you look around, it's tight. Like these sewers are not like your ancient 3-man wide sewage systems. Like this is a maintenance shaft that one dude is supposed to be able to walk up and down. But as you touch down and you sort of budge around for extra room, you look over and are greeted with the faintly glowing, slightly reddish eyes of that long, white-haired vampire as he sort of looks at the group of you with a grin. We were wondering if you were going to follow. Come along. I will show you the way.
Are any of them using flashlights?
The vampires?
Or the werewolves?
Some of the werewolves ahead have some flashlights, but they're not within sight range right now.
Okay.
Paul has definitely changed, by the way, into his utility outfit with the name Eddie. Over the breast. He's not wearing his good clothes down here.
Fair enough. Come, I will show you the way.
Eamon's got a kukri out and his little tack mag in the other hand, just to make sure that there's some level of illumination.
William,
Paul has a flashlight too.
It's got the red lens cover over it.
William, you're going to be showing them the way?
Fuck you.
He's Italian, or Spanish technically, not Ugandan.
You said it.
How are you Italian or Spanish technically?
Spanish Italian. It's a thing.
I mean,
That's
technically,
fair.
technically means that you have the genetics thereof. However, he's undead, so his blood is no longer technically Italian, even though his body was, or Spanish.
I was gonna say most of his blood currently probably Caucasian Russian. Based
Whatever he's been drinking recently.
But in
Right.
life, he was Spanish, so that's why I thought he was technically Spanish.
Yeah. But he sort of tilts his head back and turns around and starts to walk further down the tunnel, seemingly offering his back to you if you wanted to take a shot at him.
Yeah, I'm following.
Yeah, I'm just following.
Nina doesn't want to mess up that coat.
No, absolutely not.
And it is impressive because even as he walks through this muck, not a splash of it manages to get on anything but his boots.
Eamon's going to be trying to follow
appreciate
as
his
quietly as
consideration.
possible.
I mean, is he, or based on what we could detect from the group that's gone up ahead, is there any real sense of them trying to be stealthy?
There is a sense that they're not trying to make a bunch of noise, but they're moving with purpose. They're not trying to be slow and quiet.
Fair enough.
Somewhere in the middle, you would say.
So she walks up right next to him and is like, so what's your deal?
I am Alexander Ravenhall, and I am here to assist my companion Archer in forming an alliance.
Right. Okay. So Alex, my question would be why?
Alexander, please.
I mean, it's a lot of syllables, but we'll see what we can do. Why?
Because I have been through a great many things and seen a great many evils, darker even than what you would think of me. And I would rather not see too many more go through such things.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds real good.
You weren't in Seattle a few years back, but quite a bit of pain and anguish was dealt out there that I would rather not see move this way.
Is that kind of their thing?
Whose thing?
Seattleites?
I mean,
Washingtonians? Pacific Northwesterners?
while not unfair, a certain amount of semi-apocalypse being avoided, I would rather not have to do the same down here.
I appreciate that.
It's not every day that an ancient being from before the flood decides it's going to try and forge its own reawakening.
Paul whips around at that one. Sort of, I think probably almost out of nowhere at the other shoulder. Pardon me, I couldn't help but overhear you discussing. This menace that we're facing is, shall we say, antediluvian in nature?
The origin of this menace that we go to face now, its origin, I would say, yes, is from long before the flood, although these particular beasts, I think, are much more recent.
Wait. Ho. I'm assuming we're not talking about, like, you know, the flood from a few years ago.
No, we're talking...
You're
the
talking
biblical flood.
like the Bible version of antediluvian.
Yes.
Right. You know, big boat, that sort of thing.
That's that.
Secrets and magic lost below the waves. People unfairly denied their birthright, that sort of thing.
Aren't you?
Sorry, you were just talking once. What was that? What was that, Eamon?
Oh, as soon as Paul starts talking about magic lost beneath the waves, he just jumps in. Aren't you mixing up antediluvian and Atlantean? Aren't you?
Well, there are different interpretations of. I know we've said before we weren't going to discuss religion, but
I never said that.
There are certain interpretations of the flood as being.
Meanwhile, Drew and Sean are up top playing tic-tac-toe.
I feel like we both simultaneously sneeze at the "we don't discuss religion" comment.
As not being as literal as it was described in your good book, but more on a calamitous scale, the sinking and raising of continents and so forth.
And whatever is true, I am afraid I am not quite that long-lived. But the evil that we now face, while these particular beasts might not be, it has existed for a very, very long time.
Yeah, Nina is doing something. I don't think she is. People may not suspect that she's capable of. She is shut the fuck up right now.
Wait, so you're saying we're down here to fight something that's got really old origins, but still causing problems in the modern era, like the Welsh?
Jesus Christ!
I think as a character, I find that funny. As a personally, as someone with 18 L's in his last name,
Are you feeling a little called out at the moment?
No, I think Paul chuckles, and
Eamon is very obviously joking.
No, I know. But Paul chuckles and says, and it turns back to Alexander and says,
more like the French.
Fair enough.
Good. The sort of reference we can all enjoy.
Fair play to you then.
But are these sort of low creatures, should we say, or are they the sort of thing that might be interested in what's been going on in the city? Might be collecting things or using things?
It's hard to say. My understanding is less complete than, say, our good friend Jack would be, as these are his foes. But from what I have learned, the creatures forged by this dark force come in many varieties, and some are cunning and others are mere beasts. It is difficult to say where this group lies, but they had the sense to kidnap the mate of a leader of potential threats, so...
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So you haven't had any personal dealings with him before? Either these specifically or these sorts of things?
No, not personally.
Anyone in your group, your young friend there, and he'll sort of gesture forward towards Archer.
He has not had dealings with them, but his eyes and ears are all over this city, and they observed the scuffle in which the group of werewolves that Jack Cross's companion were with being attacked. Kaya was supposedly taken very intentionally, whereas the others were butchered.
How many others were there, if you know?
According to Archer's scouts, a group of 6 werewolves in total, counting Kaya, were all killed, barring her.
Any idea of the numbers of the opposing side?
Difficult to tell, according to the scouts. They moved in a blur and carried shadows with them.
Can I see if that rings any bells?
You can roll me an occult, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I assume a pretty tough roll, but
Yeah, but you can potentially make it.
What you're telling us then is that our target here took out a pack of 6 werewolves, killed 5 of them, and carried off one that they had in mind. Lads, we're proper fucked.
Well, you have a group of 6 more werewolves and about a dozen more vampires at your back.
Let's clarify that a moment.
Pretty
in
sure
terms
that
of
we're
this
at your back.
whole situation. We're not front line, motherfucker.
But I thought that it was your duty as hunters to protect the innocent from monsters that would seek to do evil and
Eat
ill.
my non-existent dick. No. Fuck no.
it also sounds like we may be making a great deal of assumptions about the innocence of those present. So, let's
that too.
let's hold off on that particular portion for now. We're just trying to, as it were, gather intelligence at this point.
Innocence is wasted. And I'm so sorry, but you never can replace it.
Drew is up top trying to introduce Sean to the intricacies of Go.
It's like chess, right?
To an extent, yeah.
It's like half paying attention while I've got my sniper rifle balanced on a roof.
Neither of us are paying attention to it, but tic-tac-toe is not classy or smart enough for me.
So, while that's going on, Drew and Sean, go ahead and make me wits and composure. This did not have to be visual.
Okay, then it's not going to
I'm gonna spend a willpower
Well,
on it.
fuck, 1 success. A lot of dice for that. I just don't
3
roll.
successes.
All right. So, Drew, it's quiet around here, and that seems normal because it's a warehouse district and it's night, so there shouldn't be too much noise coming around. But a short while later, you begin to hear some kind of motion down the roads. Sean, you spot and begin to hear as well a group of individuals walking down the streets and seeming to gather up a group of other individuals that are sort of straying across the road towards them, and they seem to group up together and continue on down the road. One of them reaches one of these warehouse doors and knocks a very particular pattern on the door. And a few moments later, the door opens and 3 more people step out. This is a warehouse district. This should be a business. There shouldn't be anyone here, is what crosses over your mind. But these 3 individuals step out, and this the woman who seems to be at the front of this pack has sort of very long black hair and wears sort of like a heavy winter jacket, sort of very pale skin, who you recognize vaguely from your brother's description of the woman that met the group of them at the mall, who they refer to as a changeling by the name of Shakes. And she seems to gather these three individuals and moves down the road a good distance and then hits another door, and a few more people file out of that building, and she gathers them up, and she seems to be moving down this road gathering people.
Over the walkie-talkie, I click it, and excuse me, pardon me, brother, were you expecting any sort of company from that Shakes woman?
You're muted, Jack.
We told her where we were headed, and she sort of seemed to indicate that she was going to try and evacuate her people from the local area.
Okay. I'm gonna keep an eye on her and see what she's doing. I just keep watch.
Watch out for that one. She's a fairy. Don't fuck with her. Don't take anything from her.
But if she does, shout it in. But if she doesn't do anything, let her
You're
be.
cut off by now.
He reaches out and pushes the button and continues her quote.
He's holding it in his hand. He's not going to let her.
Squeeze your hand so it pushes the button. You will note it is very difficult to prevent a button from being pushed.
Yes, that is true.
It is.
I mean, do you want to contest that?
No, if she's determined, she gets to, yeah.
What was the rest of that sentence? I missed it.
If she doesn't do anything, let her be.
Okay.
Well, do they look like to the person who can see on this rooftop with me? Do they look like her folk, or
I need to go.
you know?
I need to go answer
exactly
the door real
what-
quick. I'll be right back.
All right, so
Then I will, through Sean, try and determine whether or not they look like they're probably more changelings, or if they look like a collection of neo-Nazi types. You know.
they definitely look way too disheveled and just kind of a raggedy group of mismatched individuals to be any organized group of Nazis.
I was
Okay.
gonna say they look a little too dark-haired, maybe.
None of like there's like one of them that fits the European, like the Aryan ideal, and that one doesn't seem remotely like proud and standoffish
It
enough.
doesn't seem like the sort of muscle builders that I assume we heard about from the golf club.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that kind of group, no.
That's all I wanted to know.
I was going to ask that too, so thank you.
They're lacking in a certain level of
Nazi.
pigmentation challenged nature.
You're missing that je ne sais quoi.
No, you know exactly what,
No.
actually.
It's okay
You're
to
missing the right
racially
stuff.
profile Nazis.
Yes.
It's my stance, and I'm sticking to it.
Maybe these are racially diverse Nazis.
I mean, exactly, that's a thing.
Oh, it's an oxymoron if ever I've heard one.
Sorry,
Anyway.
moving on.
Keeping an eye on that group, and still keeping an eye out for others. So
Yeah, and you notice that she seems to be gathering people from a variety of different buildings, all of which, from common sense, should be empty by now.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I judge by common sense, considering I am a hunter in a world that I know exists vampires and other things and magic.
Yeah. So your supernatural sense says, okay, this seems like some kind of series of hideouts.
Given I am specifically dream focused, do I have any additional insights if these are changelings?
Being specifically dream focused, you might know a little bit more about these hideouts. Go ahead and roll me a intelligence occult.
I'm gonna start muttering under my breath, by the way, and I'm going to apply the true side of Saint Abel to my.
Go for it.
Any penalty?
Nah.
You two are fucked.
One success.
Hey, you have enough to distribute between the two of you.
We both have 4 dots of true side of Saint Abel,
Nice.
which means that we can both make
true sight dots plus, I want to say, composure.
And I've got it right. Resolve +4. Basically.
Resolve plus dots. Okay.
We can both.
GM ruling. Does that require you to be able to physically see things, or is it more of a supernatural sense?
It's a supernatural sense that overlays onto your sight. While you might not be able to make out a bunch of details, you will be able to still see that they are supernatural with the sight on.
I'm going to go ahead and
Fair enough.
toggle that as well, since I know one of them is a changeling.
What I'm saying is your bad eyes flaw will not affect a roll for the true sight.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
I got
So you
2
can-
successes on my true sight.
So you can see true sight. You can go ahead and roll me resolve and +4 as well, Drew.
Sure. I don't have much of that.
Yeah, +4 to add.
Yeah, that definitely helps. But no,
You're having trouble.
that was
Like,
a lot of ones, by the way. So I think the dice disagree with you about.
yeah,
my
apparently.
abilities.
Like you're having trouble fixating on them long enough just with your eyes to really focus the true sight on them. So
But hideout, if I know anything.
yeah, so the hideout, what you do know is that changelings, from what little research you've done into them, because they aren't really your forte of particular focus, you do know their affinity for dreams often extends to their environs and what they tend to like, what they tend to do. They tend to build homes that are outside of typical space.
Mhm.
You don't know how that works or what it transitions to, but you do know that changelings don't need a building to have a hideout.
There's probably some sort of nest here, or that's not actually in the real space.
And we'll refer to what John is seeing with his true sight when he gets back. But as the two of you are watching this, you see that, Shakes, both of them are gone now. So while that's happening, so we'll step away from that for a minute, back into the tunnels. As you guys continue to make your way, at one point, the group ahead of you turns, and Alexander turns when he hits that point, and you notice that there's just like a slab of this sewer wall that has been broken down, like ripped, like bricks and mortar just ripped out of the wall, and there's just an open dirt tunnel ahead of you that widens out significantly. As Alexander steps up to it, we are entering enemy territory now. I would have weapons drawn if you do not already. As he pulls out that pistol from under his vest.
Does it go straight, or is it sort of curving around?
It's sort of straight out from the side of this wall, and it sort of opens up into a cavern, but it's very dark.
Okay. Everybody else still has flashlights out?
The werewolves ahead of you, you can barely see their lights sort of in the distance. The vampires don't seem to need it.
Okay. Paul will, for now, will keep his out.
Eamon sheaths his kukri and pulls out his gladius instead. Right.
Gun in one hand, baton at the ready.
Belly the beast it is then.
Madam, what caliber of weapon do you wield there? She said. Alexander says, looking over at Nina.
45.
Ah, perfect. You may want some of these. He says as he hands you a small a quick load for his weapon, which is a 45. He's got two handguns. One is a 9mm, and the other one is a 45 revolver. He hands you a quick reload for the revolver, with bullets that are shine silver.
Nice. Go switches out. You wouldn't happen to, as I'm jamming this one in, with a grin, she's mostly joking, but you wouldn't happen to have any of, phosphorus rounds, do you? Just in case.
If only I had thought that far ahead.
Oh well. I guess I'll make do.
You shouldn't need to be shooting at any of us anyway.
I mean, shouldn't is the key word there.
I appreciate your caution.
Paul weighs in again quietly and says, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're probably, now that we've gotten into the do-it-yourself portion of the caves, maybe we should start keeping our voices down.
Right. If the group of you would like to slow down and sneak, you are welcome to. I'm going to catch up to my companions in case the battle gets ahead of us.
Sounds about right to me.
And with that, he sort of gives the group of you a nod and turns and begins walking at a speed that would outpace most people's sprint. He sort of has that visual effect of like someone moving incredibly quickly to the point that it almost seems like they're a fast forward and they leave just like the faintest trace of an after image behind them.
Paul will watch that happen and turn back to the others and says, anybody seen that happen before?
Can't say that I mean, I'm certainly not going to forget it going forward.
Right, yeah. Let's
First encounter with celerity. Uh-oh.
I mean,
let's file that one away.
it fits. It just confirms long-standing.
Oh, aye, there's
We
plenty
know
of
one of them
folklore
is
behind it.
True.
Right, yeah, but just never seen it. That's all.
Oh yeah, no, it's fucking terrifying.
That's a bit disconcerting for sure.
But you know, it is what it is. We knew we weren't we knew we weren't walking down here to fuck with no Care Bears. Actually, I would be more terrified if we were coming down here to fight Care Bears. I mean, Care Bears are real and they have some terrifying ability.
You got to watch that stare.
I mean,
Sorry, what?
I don't know if I'm more concerned that that's what you're more scared of or that you, Paul, of all people, know about it.
Paul has kids.
Paul has kids.
That's
Paul does
fair. Well, that was Colleen talking, by the way.
Oh.
What did she? About being.
Yeah.
Paul turns back and says, "Look, we've got Netflix in England, and they've got that stupid movie there, and it's just my youngest went through a period where he would watch it twice a day every week."
I guess that makes sense.
Wait a minute. Is that the first admission around most of us to Paul that he has kids?
No, I think most people heard about that when he saw them as corpses during the.
That's right. Ignore me.
Mm-hmm.
Ignore me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I think he had not mentioned it until then, but at that point he kind of.
It was pretty obvious.
Yeah. Now Nina may have missed it. I think that would be entirely in character.
Yeah, that's also true. Well, because I think she was like outside, or anyways, she doesn't say anything regardless.
Okay.
So you guys are left alone in this cavern system as Alexander moves ahead.
Do we hear anything up ahead of us?
As you sort of slow down to move quietly, about 30 seconds pass after Alexander separates from the group of you before you begin to hear the sounds of growling and then followed by the sounds of gunshots, and then the sounds of howls and roars, and then more gunshots, and claws scraping stone, and angry and pained noises as something is getting into a fight.
I am heedlessly pushing ahead.
As is Astrid.
Eamon immediately starts activating Wrathful Sword of St. Michael the Archangel on his Gladius and is following.
All right. Go ahead and roll me that.
And he's spending a willpower on that. Because he wants this to last as long and do as much as possible. 4 successes. Okay.
Good.
Wow, that's a lot of ones. Okay.
At least you had 4 successes in there.
Yeah. So this thing can do 4 points of aggravated damage to something before it breaks.
Why don't we take a brief preview? And Paul will take out the other one-eyed king, roll it over his knuckles, and put it up against his eye.
And so you put the king up against your eye, and immediately you are treated to a scene of carnage.
Okay.
As you begin to observe the area around Archer, you find Archer just kind of firing rapidly, moving faster than is humanly possible as his body reacts in superhuman speed, as he brings a gun around and fires it point blank at a creature that seems to emerge from the darkness. It looks almost like a werewolf, but it's just completely pitch black and seems to carry shadows with it. Its entire form almost seems wavy as it sort of melds with the darkness. As it emerges out, teeth bared and claws scraping out, you can see what seems like a hideous bulge across the side of its face, almost as if its skull is malformed. As the claw scrapes forward, you see in an instantaneous flash Archer's pistol up into its face and firing twice as it staggers back with the bullets in its face, giving Archer enough time to slide underneath. As his gaze turns to the side, you get a spot of Alexander in just a blur of motion, just in all directions, both guns in his hands, firing rapidly. And you see the 6 werewolves that are part of Jack Cross's party, all of them in their war forms, which immediately sets your mind on edge, but you've seen these before. And they, all of them in full combat formation. Jack seems to have pulled a long flashing blade from underneath his coat, while another one is hefting a massive hammer, and a couple more wielding various daggers or ritualistically marked weapons.
So I am making no move to join into the fight. The gun is out for in case one of them rush me. I am very specifically watching as much and every bit of this fight as I can for detail to pick out abilities. I'm doing research.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Go
the
ahead.
entirety of the reason I rushed ahead.
Everyone who wants to stay out of this fight but be within an observable range, go ahead and give me dexterity and stealth.
Do I need to if I'm...
No, you're staying back and using the king.
All right. Yeah, I think Paul will out loud while he's watching. He still has his eyes closed, but Paul will out loud say, "It's not exactly a tarts and Vickers up there. Everybody be careful."
I am spending a willpower point
Um,
because I like being alive.
What? Do you need to go on again?
3 successes.
Be right back.
Go ahead.
Eamon, if he notices everybody else trying to hold around the edge and keep out of it, is going to very much not. He's not going to engage, but he's just going to stand there with his bare blade in front of him, sort of as the target of attraction to hopefully any enemy who looks this way will hopefully focus on him first, and he's just prepared to shank something in the guts or in the neck.
And as you stand in the entryway to this battlefield, you begin to realize that you're standing in, as you look around, one of the only exits. And as you realize this, you realize that Astrid is standing next to you as well. As Astrid kind of was intending to sneak up, but just kind of got caught in the moment as she observed everything going on, watching her brother in a fight for his life. And watching the vampires and werewolves fighting what seemed to be massive, deformed werewolves partially made of darkness that seemed to be striking from all angles. As far as unique traits, you see that as the battle is raging on, Nina, as you're keeping an eye on individuals, you do notice from Jack Cross, as he wheels this blade off to his side, he is yelling or maybe chanting in a tongue that you don't recognize, and his words seem to be having an effect on the battlefield as one of these black shadow creatures rushes toward him, and he turns his gaze on them and continues this chant, and it seems to stagger back almost from the force of his words, which then gives him the opening to drive his blade into its chest and force it to the ground. It's still.
What language is he chanting in?
You don't recognize it?
Does it sound like a human language?
It vaguely. It sounds.
I'll do what I can to pick out as much phonetic words and phrases as like she has gone full study, like super study mode.
Roll me intelligence and academics.
Okay. Academics. I mean, there's two.
Okay. Some of what he's saying reminds you of various Native American dialects.
Okay.
But
yeah,
it's
I'm gonna
not.
try to get general sound combination things that I can later try to research.
Yeah.
Basically is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it definitely. You're pretty certain it's not just a Native American language, but it definitely has linguistic similarities to some Native American languages.
Somebody is looking to up their lore scores.
You know, learn more about monsters.
Yep.
Yeah. Candidly, I think Paul's probably doing the same thing.
Tactical, yeah, just anything.
You weren't sworn your loyalty to Satan. We could be library buddies.
We've already had that conversation.
And William, Eamon's sword is literally glowing white hot with the light from heaven.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second.
All right.
I'm just covering what people are seeing as they're observing before you get rushed.
Sounds good.
Can I stop Colleen from going forward? What I'd like to do is where Paul is stopping, he'll hold a hand out to her, not like stop, but sort of like an open hand, palm up, reached out while he's watching on the coin, and say, after he said the thing about the tarts and bickers, he says, why don't you stand back here with me?
She'll just kind of look at you for a second, kind of nod, and just take your hand.
Okay. I just want to make sure she wasn't in the group getting rushed.
Yeah. And so, aside from Jack, who you notice has this sort of seeming, you would almost compare what he's doing to old mythological tales of a Templar, like someone spouting words of import that seem to have some sort of mystic effect while simultaneously wielding the power of the blade. Yeah, it seems similar, doesn't it? And then Rufus, Reno, was the bald one. The the formerly bald one, now giant werewolf, wielding this massive sledgehammer, issues this wall-shaking roar that seems to even put these shadow beasts off on the back foot and seems to make them slow down for a second as he brings this giant hammer up and slams it down into the skull of one of these shadow beasts and crushes it down to the ground and brings it back up and shoves into the next one. Meanwhile, the vampires, seemingly not wanting to get into up-close physical confrontation, are mostly relying on speed and skill, as most of them have drawn guns and are just tracing targets, a number of them moving faster than should be humanly possible, none more so than Alexander, who is just a blur of motion on the battlefield. It's hard to keep track of him. Like, if you've seen the animation for Reaper's Death Blossom, it's sort of like that happening right now, as he's just in all directions, guns firing. And it's at this point that one of the shadow beasts sort of breaks away from the conflict, heavily injured and wounded from a variety of gunshots and lacerations, and turns and bolts towards the exit that you're standing in.
Well, fuck. We're dropping the blade on the forearm and we're just braced to meet the charge.
Go ahead and make me an attack.
Does he have any defense currently?
Yes, it's 3.
All right. I'm going to spend a willpower to negate that. Okay. There's all 4 of it. 4 aggravated damage.
Yep, 4 aggravated damage it is. Which means his natural toughness doesn't stop any of it.
And the blade just snaps off in the wound. And the light vanishes.
As he's rushing forward, you see this combination of rage and terror in his eyes as he seemingly like on all fours just rushes forward, claws digging dirt up underneath as he seems to rampage towards where your door is at. And you just bring the blade up and thrust forward with your hand, and the divine light almost seems to battle the shadow as it sinks into the beast's throat. And as you drive it in, the hilt snaps, and the blade itself is left in the werewolf's throat as it stumbles past you and collapses onto the ground. There's a second one coming.
Check and make sure he's dead. And the kukri's out. Because that's all he's got left here.
Astrid, what are you doing?
She's gonna use the Lord Provides.
Yep. And just open fire.
And yeah, open fire on this thing.
Roll me an attack with your gun. As Astrid pulls this revolver off of her waist that you've never actually seen her reload, ever. And just bam, 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 just unloads this never-ending supply of ammunition. There's just a barrage of bullets flies down range at the next oncoming werewolf for 6 points of damage. Damn.
Nice.
As it stumbles underneath this oncoming assault, this one also injured. Not quite dead, as the damage wasn't aggravated damage and it can absorb some of it. As it blunders through and tears through this barrage of bullets, you can see it's basically just crawling at this point, trying to get away from this firefight as it reaches where you guys are at. Nina, are you doing anything? All right, as I catch you with food in your mouth, I apologize.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to. I didn't have any anymore. I just want to make sure I was unmuted because I had muted myself. At the moment, you know what? Not at the moment. She is just continuing to observe and until there's like super serious risk to any of the living non-furry folk.
Mm-hmm.
She is continuing to pick up information that you'll probably use to kill one of these kinds of things in the future. Or impress people at parties. One of the two.
And it's roughly at that point, with this one crawling towards you, that you hear Jack Cross howl in frustration and pain as another one of them decks into him from behind, their claws sort of raking across his back and sending him sprawling across the ground. This large, somewhat less injured one then immediately barreling towards where you guys are in the doorway, and it's going to rush forward and brings his claw around, scraping across the stone of the wall, digging furrows out of it as it traces along towards where you are standing, Eamon.
Uh-huh.
What's your defense?
Defense is 2. If it's not aggravated is it a brawl or a firearms attack?
It's technically a brawl attack.
Okay, so he'll be at a -4 because of my armor.
Okay. You take 3 points of lethal damage as his claw rips through the stone wall and digs into your side and cuts a deep furrow across your torso, cutting through some of the armor as it breaks through. And then he brings his other claw around for a second attack. And now your defense is -3.
Then it'd be at -3 for the second one. Yep.
Only one more point of lethal damage.
Okay.
As the second claw swipes across you, and he immediately barrels past you, heading out of the tunnel, heading towards the entrance to the sewers. Which means that
would that count as one of the living non-furry?
Yes, that would indeed. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna put a bullet in OBG.
And you have silver bullets.
Yes, I do.
So go ahead and roll me an attack roll. +2.
+2. Okay. And defense is
nothing at the moment because you're shooting a gun at him.
Okay. Well, there's 5 silver damage.
5 aggravated bullet damage.
Unsoakable.
Yep.
Well,
that's right.
There's no soaking in the world anyway.
Because we're in this weird mix of the two. Fair enough.
So you fire the gun at his head, and this silver bullet just crashes across his jaw, and he stumbles heavily to the ground as he nearly topples over, and the bullet kind of carves this deep score across his jaw. And you see the shadows around his face kind of swim away for a minute, and you just see this deformed, strange, mangled-looking skull underneath, almost squished, like it would be a canine face, but it's like it's been compressed in a couple of different dimensions, and so it looks too short and too narrow. Almost
what up, Fido?
As it looks at you with this combination of rage and fear.
Gun in one hand, middle finger up with the other.
Which brings us back around. Eamon, what are you doing? You have an injured one on the floor in front of you, and a also now suddenly injured one behind you trying to escape.
Injured one on the floor in front of me is taking it first. Is there an exposed limb of any sort?
It's on its back, or it's on its chest, so you've got kind of like open access to its arms and back shoulders.
All right, we're gonna try and take a shoulder off with the kukri.
All right.
And with it on the floor, is it getting any of its defense?
No, it's
okay.
Prone.
3 lethal.
And that's enough to finish it off as you drive the kukri in between its shoulder blades and just curve up into its spine with the twist of the blade. It stops moving on the ground, and as you pull the blade out, the blood that comes off with the kukri is almost smoky, as it seems to be black and just kind of seems to aerosolize as soon as it pulls out of the body on the blade.
Hell's not even gonna have to clean this one. And yeah, he's just gonna stand there and try and hold his guts in.
That hurt, did it?
He's on the cusp of wound penalties.
So at that point, Astrid, what are you up to?
She's gonna unload on this one trying to escape.
All right, go ahead and fire again.
Two damage.
Just bam, bam over your shoulder as it tries to retreat. You catch it in the legs, but it continues to stumble forward. As it continues to move down the hall, Paul, you and Colleen begin to hear the sound of massive claws scraping across stone as this thing continues to barrel its way down the hallway towards you. You're muted, Craig.
Sorry. How much of that could I see?
Of its attempt to escape from the one-eyed king, you could sort of see it in your peripheral because your perspective is sort of focused on everything else that's going on right now.
Right. I think it certainly as soon as he hears it, if he didn't see it push through the line of everybody blocking the exit, then certainly as soon as he hears it getting closer, he will pull the king off of his eye, tuck it back into a pocket, turn it, and is Colleen still holding his hand?
No, she's kind of pulled her hand back and is kind of trying to focus on something as she's kind of muttering under her breath. Okay, focus on the tingling feeling at the back of your neck. Hold that down to your hands, and she begins to like press her hands together as she tries to focus on something.
Paul says, Colleen, I think focus more on the tingling feeling in the back of your ears. We got to go. Discretion, better part of valor, all that sort of thing. Come on. Does she respond at all?
No, she's focusing on whatever she's doing right now.
All right, then he'll gently put a hand out to I guess sort of the upper part of her arm, and not shake, but sort of tap her to try to pay attention.
And it's at that point that you see this beast kind of rushing down the hall at you, and her eyes look up at it, and you see this faint flash of white for a second as she kind of just go, and she kind of thrusts her hands out, and this ball of white energy, very faint, just kind of surges out of her hands towards the werewolf. Damn, that wasn't a big dice pool, but she got 4 successes.
Nice.
That's a lot of 10s. As this ball of energy lashes into the werewolf's chest, as injured as it already is from that silver bullet and the follow-up fire, this ball of energy lashes into its chest, and it just seems to catch fire and collapse onto the ground as she kind of looks at her hands. That's the first time I've managed to do that.
And Paul looks from her back to the werewolf, back to her, and says, well, consider me grateful. You think you could do it again?
Maybe.
Well, if you're not 100% sure, we better go.
Probably a good idea.
Can I try to identify what she just did?
You can roll me intelligence at occult.
Okay. Four successes.
I mean, it looked like she just fired a ball of pure heat at that thing.
Well, okay, yeah, but I mean, is that something that I've heard of before, or is that a technique or a discipline that I'm familiar with?
I mean, mages can do all kinds of weird reality bending shit. They don't really. A lot of mages do their own brand of magic, but that definitely seems to be within the field of magic.
Okay.
Has Paul heard of Dungeons and Dragons?
I don't know if he has encountered a dragon, but his whole order is all about labyrinths and dungeons. So
Right.
we're halfway there.
She basically just threw a 5th edition firebolt at the thing.
Fair. I mean, my main thing was, is that a mage thing, or is that a unknown arcane artifact thing that she, is that something she learned, or is that something she is?
Maybe a little of both based on what information you have.
Okay.
For the record, they're more of a fan of maces and minotaurs.
Yeah, exactly. Probably for the briefest moment, you see pound signs appear in Paul's eyes, and then he blinks them away and is hurrying her back towards the exit.
Mm-hmm. And she will follow you towards the way out.
Okay.
Run away, most darling jailbait.
And to be fair, he is not doing the Hollywood hold my hand while we run thing. He's doing the I'm an old man running underground thing.
So while this is happening, Drew and Sean, while you're watching what's going on, you begin to see as Shakes has begun to sort of gather out the last of her people. Roll me a wits and composure.
Visual?
This would be visual, yeah.
Oh.
One success still.
One success.
So Sean, you have your true sight on.
Yes.
And you've been able to see these changelings sort of for what they are. The true sight is sort of hazy when it comes to changelings because both their human form and their true form are both what they are. So it's sort of like overlaid and interweaving between the two. But for instance, you are able to see between flashes. You can see Shakes as she normally appears, and then you can see her as this sort of blue-skinned ice queen with long, flowing white hair and these painted blue lips and this sort of aura of frost just kind of trailing off of her.
That is to say, literal queen of ice, and not derogatory term for a person.
No, like literal queen of ice. And a number of other individuals who have sort of various different shapes and forms underneath their seeming human guises. And as you're looking around, you see 3 more of these that are not grouping up with Shakes, but are rather seeming to be spying on Shakes and her group of individuals.
What do they look like? With my true sight.
The 3 of them, as a group, almost seem to be pale and elongated. Like they almost seem to be. One of them looks sort of. Their human form, you can see, is just sort of a tall, unremarkable figure. But their changeling form underneath is sort of this incredibly long and lanky looking, almost Slender Man style of like incredibly long, lanky individual with sort of very generic features that don't seem all that distinct, and long, spindly, almost talon-like hands that seem to have a few too many joints in the knuckles.
So changelings. It's a group of changelings. That,
Yeah,
that are
it's a
watching the
group of
other-
changelings are watching them.
Okay. I continue to keep an eye on them.
And as you watch, there's a moment where the three of them are sort of watching and sort of ensuring that that Shake sort of has everyone gathered up. And then the three of them all pull a variety of guns. One, the largest of the three pulls a shotgun, while the long, spindly one pulls a pair of pistols, and the third one pulls a long, wicked-looking knife.
So into the walkie-talkie, which I know this is such a great time on the other end, but I don't know that yet. So it looks like Shakes has a few friends out here that are possibly wanting to give her a bad time. Should I just let that play out, or should I assist?
As you guys are being barreled down at by Shadow.
That was into the walkie-talkie?
Yeah, that was in the
Yeah.
walkie-talkie.
Okay.
So Eamon is the one who hears that. You're muted, Jack.
Eamon's just fucking let him fight it out. Click.
All right, I'll just keep watching.
And as you're watching, you see the three of them sort of round the corner and level weapons at Shakes and her crew. Shakes kind of stops and looks over at them, and they begin to have this conversation that is a little bit too low for you to hear from your high vantage point. But it definitely seems to be very tense. And after a few moments, one of them begins to walk a little bit closer, the one with the shotgun, begins to walk a little bit closer towards Shakes, almost like as if to apprehend her. And as soon as he gets up to her, Shakes kind of lunges out with a hand and grabs him by the forearm, and you see this creeping ice begin to spread out from her hand up his arm as he seems to scream in pain as the ice spreads across, and she grabs the shotgun out of his hand and immediately rips around and pulls him into sort of a human shield and levels the shotgun at the one with the other gun and fires it, sort of bracing it against the other guy so that she's not taking the full recoil. And immediately all hell breaks loose on the upper levels as the other changelings pull out what weapons they have and begin to open fire on these three.
I back into the walkie-talkie. I know you're right. It seems like they've got it under control.
As you watch a firefight play out, while these guys are in the middle of a brawl and a horrible massacre playing out. We'll get back to how that resolves in just a minute, because Eamon, the one that just nearly clawed your guts out was big.
So this next one, I'm sure, is smaller.
The one that's coming at you now looks kind of like a truck. As this slab of meat, roughly the width of the tunnel he's trying to rush towards through you, is pelting towards you on all fours. His musculature is almost ridiculously oversized. Like, it looks like it actually restricts his range of movement. It's become so unwieldily huge. As he begins to rush towards you.
Run! Is there... I'm gonna try and get out of his way. Like, because I'm kind of in the mouth of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Can I, like, cheat out of it slightly and off to the side and just let him sail on past?
Roll me dexterity and athletics.
Okay. And as I'm doing this, I want to go for his Achilles as he goes by with the kukri.
Sure.
But I want him to at least get past me before I make a swipe at him.
Based on how well you roll, we'll see if you get that chance.
Oh, whoops. I shouldn't have been on 9 again.
No, go ahead and roll it again. You want to spend the willpower on that?
Nah. 2 successes.
All right. Yeah, so you manage to, like, Toro, like, just kind of as he's running by, you just kind of, like, slide to the side and bring the kukri around, and yeah, go ahead and make an attack roll.
This one I want to spend a willpower on, if that's okay.
Sure.
Wow. I nicked him.
Yeah. You slice across the back of his cap, and it just seems to, like, barely trace a line. You see just the faintest trickle of his sort of blackish, smoky blood as he just barrels past the freight train. What are the rest of you doing as you see this massive wall of meat incoming?
I'm putting as many bullets in its head as I can.
Yeah, Astrid will just unload on this thing.
Both of you can make me attack rolls.
Willpower.
Sure.
So it's +2 because it's so plus.
Yeah, +2 for silver. So +5.
Excellent.
Can I spend a willpower on this as well?
Yep.
Can you do like a 3-round burst or anything?
2 damage.
Man, that should have been more.
So 2 lethal and 5 aggravated damage.
There really should have been more. Oh.
As both of you just fire into this massive slab of meat, the silver bullet crashes across its shoulder and seems to throw its left arm out of motion for a second, which is part of why it doesn't crash through you as it's running by. The 44 Magnum shot barely even seems to impact on it as it just continues to barrel down the hall as Paul, you and Colleen are moving out and have just barely managed to hit the sewer system when you hear what sounds like an earthquake on 4 legs rushing towards your section of tunnel. You're muted.
The section of tunnel where we are now, coming in, is it a T intersection?
It's a T intersection, yeah.
Okay. All right. Colleen is in front of or behind Paul?
In front of you.
Okay. Paul just goes, left.
Are you trying to lead her deeper into the tunnels or towards the exit?
I guess towards the exit. Is that a right?
That would be a left. Yeah, it would be a left to get to the exit.
Yeah. Definitely heading for the exit.
I would like you to roll me a wits and let me see. Wits and streetwise, we'll say.
Okay. Three success.
It immediately strikes you that these last few things have been running from the fight, and the way that you know is the exit is likely where this thing is going to be going.
How far away from it are we? I guess that's my main question.
It is closing on you rapidly.
It will get to us before we get to the exit, correct?
By a long shot.
Right.
So,
and assuming she goes right, as soon as I am out and can look around, I'm going to look for anywhere that is not immediately literal shit. Is there anything other than the actual sewage that could hide us from view?
No, it's literally just the sewage. You are in a maintenance shaft of a sewer.
Okay. Yep. Then Paul will, as soon as they're over to the right, Paul will say, and she's wearing Drew's clothes or Nina's clothes at this point.
I think it's some stuff from Nina's.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
we grabbed clothes at Nina's place. but
Okay. Oh, Drew is also wearing Nina's clothes, right? Or something.
Everybody has my wardrobe.
I actually probably am wearing my own clothes at this point.
Okay. All right.
Not-
Then Paul goes, "Oh, Nina's gonna kill me." And then goes, "Get down underwater."
There's a moment of hesitation as she just kind of processes what you just told her. And then in that moment of hesitation, this massive freight train of meat just made of black fur and shadows and mass slams into the back wall of the tunnel, and you feel bricks beginning to fall off of the ceiling as it shakes some of them loose, and then immediately rips through the tunnel heading away from you towards the exit. You were probably thrown into the sewer water just by the force of its impact against the walls.
Okay, fair enough.
as Colleen very desperately tries to stop herself but can't completely prevent herself from getting thrown into the sewer water as well.
So she's probably fine because she's expressed that she's never gotten sick. So she's probably got disease immunity. Paul's doomed.
Paul, you've just contracted Giardia.
Yeah. All right.
So many things.
Have you ever
Paul-
wanted to know
so
what it was
dead.
like to have all the diseases?
Paul, I'm picturing that thing from The Simpsons.
Yes, yes,
Where
Mr.
they're all
Burns.
just- yeah, super syndrome. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So Paul will pop back up and wipe his hands on the walls as best he can, and then reach inside the jumpsuit to see if his phone is still workable. I mean, I assume he has a waterproof case because one, he's an international thief,
I was
and
gonna say, as a thief, you've probably had to do a couple of sewer entrances. I'm sure your phone is fine.
well, I was gonna say, I mean, yeah, that possibly, but two, he got kids, so it definitely.
It ended up in the toilet or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he will pull it out and call like literally whoever's, if he can get Drew's number first, great. If he can get Sean's number first, great. Whoever shows up first.
Do you have your
Drew,
phone?
probably.
Do you have your phone sorted by first or last name?
I mean, I think the bigger question.
There's no
How
last
is
name
this-
on Drew, so I think it's Drew either way.
Yeah.
I think the bigger question is, how's the cell phone coverage in the sewers?
Shitty,
That's also fair.
shitty, but there's just enough signal to send a call out.
Okay. For convenience, I pick up the phone.
Drew, you've got incoming. Some big hairy werewolf thing coming up through the exit where we came out.
You hear gunshots
As
in
soon
the
as I
background.
hear You've got incoming. The phone is against Sean's ear instead.
So probably at that point the
So
train.
you probably hear the big hairy werewolf.
Big
coming.
hairy werewolf. Whack coming up.
I
through
like
the
the
exit.
idea that it's re-werewolf.
coming up through the exit. Coming your way fast.
All right then. Says the voice that is not Drew.
How does the firefight on our end seem to be going? Has it wrapped up or
It seems to be painful. It definitely seems like because of the sheer numbers, Shakes and her crew have the upper hand. But aside from the shotgun that Shakes took from one of them, the other guys have better guns. So a number of Shakes' crew are down with injuries. There's a number of bullet wounds. Shake seems mostly uninjured just by virtue of using one of the other people as a human shield, and stealing their shotgun.
Was it the spindly guy? Because he didn't sound like he would cover.
No, it was
that
it
much
was
cover.
it was the big broad dude who had the shotgun.
Okay.
okay?
But it looks like it will probably be over soon one way or another. It looks like Shakes will come out on top, but not without some casualties.
I am just
Get to the tunnel. I can watch her back on the.
I angle my sniper rifle towards the tunnel and I hold up the detonator. Because I've got a plan.
Yes.
Do I have any reason to think that there might be another exit down the other way?
Down the other way of the tunnel?
Yeah.
Theoretically, you would think that with the sewage maintenance system like this, there should be an exit every like set distance or so.
Okay.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
if I could, having heard this, head to the part, if it's possible to be on a part of the roof where I'm right next to the ladder, but can keep an eye on the changeling horde.
Sure.
Cool.
So you're ready to slide down in a moment's notice, but keeping an eye on the firefight happening on the ground level.
Guess who doesn't use guns because it would be a horrible idea.
What's happening to the rest of the furball in the wake of the meat train?
So, as this sort of colossus of a werewolf bashes through the group of you on its way out, behind it you see Jack Cross kind of continuing to mutter this litany behind its back and kind of focusing on that meat train, seemingly trying to keep his focus on it. And as it leaves his sight, he puts his hand down and brings his sword back around and drives it into a werewolf that was coming up behind him. You can see that all of the werewolves and vampires look injured with the exception of Alexander and Archer, who seem to have been able to avoid most of the fight. Except right now, one of these shadow wolves immediately comes up behind Archer and drives a claw right across his back, which sends him sprawling to the ground. As Archer collapses face first onto the ground, his gun kind of slides several feet away from him. Nina, you're opening fire?
Fuck yeah.
Go ahead.
Does Astrid see this?
Yes.
All right. She will also open fire and she's going to run towards the thing.
Okay.
Why not? Who needs willpower?
Eamon's going to do the same.
Against vampires and werewolves. I'll spend
Eamon's
my
going to
last
open fire with his kukri and run towards the werewolf.
No, he's got a Winchester.
So +2, +3.
Oh, you're still holding on to my Winchester.
Are you?
Yep.
Wow.
Still aggravated damage.
Yeah.
Which means his supernatural toughness does nothing to it.
Fucking 2 damage with goddamn
3 lethal from Eamon.
12
2
dice.
damage.
As it slices down across Archer's back and sends him sprawling, the 3 of you just unleash this barrage of bullets that sort of peppers it in the chest. The silver bullet that hits it across the shoulder kind of sends its arm back as it reels for a second. And then in a flash of motion, Alexander is over top of Archer with both of his handguns sort of pressed underneath the werewolf's jaws and fires both as these silver bullets crisscross across his throat as he needs to make his 2 attacks.
I like the idea that it was went down. All 3 hunters just sort of looked at each other like Pulp Fiction style. And it was like, boo, 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 boo.
Yep. We're all just standing side edge. Yep.
As Alexander's silver bullets also cross across into its jaws. Under the combined barrage of bullets that all of you put into this werewolf, it collapses.
And Sean not knowing, or Eamon not knowing that Paul has made the call, pulls out his walkie. Brother, we've got a meat train headed your direction, so if you want to post up on the exit, you'll be getting a bit of the party coming to you.
Nina's running down the hallway, running after that thing, because it's about to go above ground as far as she can tell, and that puts people in danger, and that's bad.
Eamon's following as quickly as he can.
Being very injured.
Being pretty badly injured.
I like
Astrid-
that Jack has taken over my role in the World of Darkness games of being the one who gets hurt.
Yep. I haven't played a bullet magnet character in a very long time. It's fun.
Astrid is staying with Archer, and she's gonna check on him and see how he's doing.
I mean, he's not breathing, but he's a vampire, so.
So perfect.
Oh fuck, he's not breathing. Oh wait.
I feel like she has that moment.
There's no pulse. I can't find a pulse. Why are you doing CPR to me? This doesn't what?
But as you place a hand onto his back where the claw mark is, he kind of flinches and writhes for a second as the pain kind of courses through him. Ah! Ah! Hi, Ash! Ow!
Sorry. Sorry.
It's all right.
Are you okay?
Get me my gun, please.
She'll grab his gun.
You hand it to him, and he immediately snatches it from you and spins and rolls onto his back and starts firing at the werewolves again. He empties the magazine, drops it, slams another one in, and continues firing.
And she will assist him firing at the werewolves, and she's going to stay close to him.
Mm-hmm. He's sort of prone on the ground, on his back, just laying into them while you're just sort of kneeled over him in a similar fashion, just unloading, not having to reload, unlike him. The tumult kind of slowly begins to die down as you can see bodies beginning to pile up. Of the dozen vampires, about 6 of them, so half of the vampires, have been completely laid out across the ground in various states of dismemberment. Of the 6 werewolves, 4 of them are still standing, but 2 of them have been completely torn apart. And of the 6 shadow wolves, there were actually 8 that you saw, counting the 2 that were shot and the one that tried to run away. So there are about 5 more bodies laid out here in this room. And as things begin to die down, Sean, you see a massive pair of clawed hands grab the edge of the sewer lid and begin to haul this massive titan of a werewolf. We're talking if the Left 4 Dead tank was a werewolf.
Yeah.
Sort of like that.
I'm holding fire. I am going to wait until I see what direction it looks like he's about to start. Can I tell what direction he seems to be pulling himself towards as he's coming out? Does it look like he's going to be heading towards the truck, or does it look like he's going to be heading somewhere else?
I mean, just kind of immediately he's facing the truck as he pulls himself out.
Okay, I'm just going to wait then.
As he begins to...
Detonator in hand.
Just sort of rushing forward in his sort of blind need to get away, he sort of runs immediately towards where the truck is positioned.
As he gets to where his fuzzy little snout is going to be right next to the truck, before he has a chance to jump over it or whatever he intends to do, click.
All right, I need to roll an explosion. Let me pull up the armory again as I try and find...
We weren't going to have the barrels in the truck when we did this.
Yeah, now I have to consider the truck exploding too.
This is the truck I bought. This is the truck I rented. Right.
I mean, no, this is the shitty ass truck that you guys purchased.
Yeah, you bought this truck.
We did purchase it.
Right, yeah. This is...
You bought it with cash.
I don't think you have insurance on this thing.
No.
At the very least, not explosion insurance.
Point of order. Has Paul put out a quick insurance policy on the truck?
Did you? That's a question. I don't know.
Were you there when I bought it? Because I don't think you would have had time. I'm not.
No, I
saying
mean,
that
and I mean, I'm just joking because we
You don't
bought
have
it to
to.
use for illegal activities and use in a bombing. Paul is greedy, but he's not dumb.
What is the purpose of this truck? Arson?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I need to try and figure out what kind of explosive the car itself will qualify, because I know what the tanks qualify as. We'll call it a heavy frag.
Why not?
I mean, it is getting heavily fragmented.
So that's going to be
Lots of shrapnel.
with all of the tanks and the car blowing up. That's going to be 12 dice of damage with 9 agains.
Yes. Does his defense apply?
Not to an explosion that he wasn't expecting, no. And that's a lot of 9s. Yeah, that's... Jesus, I only rolled 12 dice, but somehow I came out with 15 dice. And 10 successes.
Yes.
Now he does get to try to soak some of them.
No, he doesn't. That's not how New World
Oh,
works.
that's right. That's
New
right.
World, you don't get soak, man.
Also, he's on fire.
Yep.
As he's already taken silver bullet damage that he hasn't been able to regenerate because it's aggravated damage. He's regenerated some of the regular bullets, but this explosion. So there's a fireball, just like that. Like you click the detonator, and there's just this, beep, 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 and then a thump, as the truck goes up in a brilliant detonation that stops the firefight for a second.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I imagine all the changelings go. Okay.
Well, somebody escalated.
Like the changeling firefight stops for a half second, and then Shanks, like with like the hair trigger reflexes, takes advantage of the situation, turns the shotgun on the guy that she's holding, finishes him off, and then immediately finishes off the 2 other guys that were still injured.
Does it look like
while
the
they're not
werewolf
reacting.
is dead?
The werewolf looks like it's in pieces.
Over the, I just sort of very calmly put down the detonator, reach up, grab the walkie-talkie. I will execute great vengeance on them with wrathful rebukes.
I think if we can flash back like 5 seconds underground, I think Paul and Colleen are headed down the other tunnel. If Colleen would have agreed to go with Paul,
And then you just hear this sort of earth shaking.
so I think he's right in the middle of going, no. See, it's strategic because we're looking for another exit. So that's why, and then the explosion goes off.
Shakes the entire sewer system.
I think that was one of mine. And then after that comes over you did that through the walkie-talkie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Colleen kind of hears that. It might be clear to go back to our exit now.
If there still is one, but yeah, I think you're probably right.
Drew, I feel like we're going to need to be getting that van ready, if you don't mind, as I pack up my sniper rifle.
Uh-huh.
This is why I parked it a bit further away.
Yep. I am gonna try and sneak so none of the people who just saw a fireball who are fighting and stuff decide I'm their next target.
Roll dexterity and stealth +3 for massive distraction.
I put on my broad-brimmed preacher's hat, dust off my coat, get up, start packing down my sniper rifle in plain view. I don't give a shit.
2 successes.
Let me see if anyone sees you.
These changelings were about to learn that werewolves were real. Now they just know that explosions are spontaneous.
And that some Wild West Grim Reaper looking motherfuckers on a rooftop.
Yeah, but that's not that weird for changelings, I feel.
No, no, it's not.
Really not.
That's Tuesday.
So yeah, none of the changelings spot you as you move to go and get to the van. As they're too busy cleaning up from a firefight, you see Shakes is busy gathering up her wounded and sort of helping them. Those who aren't dead, she's helping to their feet, and those who are dead, she's just trying to figure out how to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sean's phone rings again. It's Paul.
Hello?
I take it from that our route back up is clear.
I mean, for various definitions of the word clear, certainly.
How'd the detonator work? Smooth action?
Brilliantly.
Much of a delay?
Brilliantly.
Great. Glad to hear it. All right. And then I think he will call probably Nina out of the other group.
Okay.
Things are starting to slow down.
I mean, if you will recall, I ran full speed down that hallway. So you call and you hear the phone because I just turned around the corner.
Okay.
Click, click, ring, ring, ring.
I mean, I know, again, out of character, I know what was happening, but in character, he doesn't. But I love that visual. So Paul, like,
ring, ring. We get reception down here.
The phone cuts off. What is Nina's ringtone?
That's a really good fucking question.
It is.
This is important too.
Yeah, I asked because I really want to know.
Oh yeah, my ringtone, by the way, was X going to give it to you at the when Paul called Sean's phone.
You know what her ringtone is? Her ringtone is 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton.
You can't hear Drew's ringtone because Drew has Bluetooth.
Fair enough. All right. Well, as the haunting tones of Vanessa Carlton echo through the sewers, Paul just looks at the phone, looks up at the sound, puts it away, looks over at Colleen and says, "Well, all right. I guess we're headed back the way we came."
Which means that in the quiet after the explosion, as I was packing up the sniper rifle, just out of nowhere you hear knock knock, open up the door, it's real.
I'm sorry. Not on the rooftop anymore because I was trying to sneak.
Just to clarify, so in case I got turned around in the hallway that has no exits, did a giant shadowy rage monster come through here?
Are we close enough that we can just talk now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, I'm face to face.
Yeah. Paul, who is just head to toe shit right now, is like, yeah, I think we saw something like that.
That way?
Yeah. They took care of it upstairs for us.
Yeah, I heard that. I just wanted to. Are we sure that they took care of it? Have we heard from them since?
Yes, I got confirmation.
Because there is the not 0% chance that they blew it up and then it turned around, sneezed, and murdered them.
So, because I actually have worked with Sean enough at this point to probably have an accurate sense of what he will or won't convey, your phone is probably ringing, Paul.
Okay. Paul opens his mouth to respond. Said, "Oh, hold on. Hello."
Just for the record, there's a collection of changelings who are having a civil war up top, so be aware of that.
Oh, good.
Everything okay?
Well, apparently the vampires named the Colonel are not the only ones who've given up on the concept of civil war down here. And there's a bunch of changelings having a bit of a scrap. But good news, no more giant rage monster.
Okay. Bad news, people are in a mass apparently reenacting large-scale conflicts on the streets of my fucking city. Excuse me.
Eamon kind of limps his way out of the tunnel. I think she's referencing the Siege of Atlanta. And we should probably get our arses that direction.
Everything squared up back down there.
As you look at Eamon, he's just kind of holding his side as there's a massive bloody rip in his torso from a series of werewolf claws ripping through his chest.
Oh, good Lord, Eamon, are you all right? Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Look, I'm not going to touch you because I feel like I'll probably just make everything septic. But let's get you somewhere where we can get you patched up.
You're a right one with the jokes.
I'm not joking. I'm covered in sewage, but we need to get you somewhere safe. Can you climb a ladder?
The day I can't climb a ladder after having gotten me guts ripped out by some sort of paranormal beastie is the day they put me in the fucking ground.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I'm worried about.
Right.
Can you climb a ladder?
Well, we'll see if that's today or not. Come on, get your ass in gear.
I was gonna say, and is today that day?
Colleen, I do apologize. It seems we've taken you on yet another unpleasant adventure, and eventually, one of these days, you'll hopefully get the experience of a legitimate childhood raising. But until that comes around, can you just walk this way?
Can we I don't know, get ice cream one day instead of going to fight werewolves?
That's a brilliant idea.
Paul says, "Look
Down the hallway, because I imagine I haven't gotten that far.
Oh,
Who the
don't worry,
fuck's idea was it to bring her along into the sewers, anyways?
We're doing the Sorkin walk and talk. It's
I
just
mean, it
we're
was
in a
either me
sewer.
be down here in the sewers or me be up there where people are apparently shooting each other.
Well, yeah, in retrospect, that wouldn't have been much better. But at the time,
still
what
running."
I'm saying is the reasoning of our
At the time, it was either me go down here where there are vampires that I know don't work for the Colonel, or stay up where there might be vampires who do work for the Colonel.
This conversation is just Dopplering more and more quiet as they get farther apart.
Meanwhile, we've gone down, got the van, pulled it over, got it running.
I feel like without a single argument.
Yeah, no, we're fine. It's like
I might have told you, I let them know that the changelings are out here.
all right,
but
good to know. Get ready.
Paul
You want to go get
says-
the bikes? We'll go get.
Paul says
Go
to
grab the
Colleen-
bikes, roll them over.
Paul says to Colleen, "Look, that's not a bad idea. Let's go get cleaned up. Let's get Eamon patched up, and we'll go and we'll get some ice cream. All right."
Also, Paul, you owe me new fishnets.
Was Paul wearing the fishnets?
No, but Colleen was with Paul when she got thrown into the sewer.
One of those two is the adult. One of those two is responsible.
Paul winces and looks over at Colleen and says, "See, I told you she was going to kill me." All right. I assume Paul and Colleen are bringing up.
Yeah.
Is anyone else coming out? I mean, we haven't seen Astrid yet.
No, you haven't seen Astrid yet, and you haven't seen any of the vampires or werewolves coming out yet.
Can I still see anyone? I assume that I assume that Eamon is not making a tremendous amount of speed up the exit.
No.
Paul will say, "Where's Astrid? Is she coming? Did she make it?"
Oh, aye, she's tending to that brother of hers.
Right. Okay. Right.
I figured she was being a sibling myself. Sometimes you just have to leave them to their own devices.
We're gonna feel awful when Astrid gets eaten.
Just
Speaking
down
of-
there with all the werewolves and vampires.
Speaking of, while this is happening, Astrid,
Hmm.
while you are taking a bit of a moment to wind down as everything slowly stops as the last shots are fired, as the last throats are ripped out, Archer kind of like looks around and just kind of has that dramatic exhale that you know is more out of exasperation than actually out of being short of breath because he's a vampire. And he just kind of like leans against the floor and just kind of lets the gun out of his hand for a second and just closes his eyes. Okay, I am still alive. Well, for what that means for me.
Are you okay for the most part?
I have like 4 or 5 giant claw marks down my spine. But yeah, I'm fine otherwise.
Right.
This hurts. This hurts a lot. This hurts a lot.
I cannot remember. How does because I keep thinking one of my tattoos like heals or helps in that regard.
Pain magnet lets you take a hit for someone.
Okay.
When they're getting hit.
Okay. Never mind then.
Which is useful for the Malleus Maleficarum because we can heal, but we can't heal ourselves. But because Eamon took all the damage, I have to heal him.
I don't think I can really do much to help with your wounds right now.
No, that's just something that's just going to have to take time. Fortunately, I'm not going to bleed out because, you know, he kind of indicates himself.
Very funny.
Well, it's either make jokes or scream in pain, and I'd rather not.
I understand. So was that all of them?
At which point you see Alexander kind of stepping out and reloading his handguns as he kind of puts the individual bullets into the revolver and puts a new magazine into the 9mm. That will not be all of them, I do not think. They tend to spread like a disease, these things. There will be more, but if we found what we came for, he looks around trying to find Jack, and eventually you do see you see Jack kind of emerging with a Native American woman, sort of black hair tied back, that was tied back and is now kind of wild and loose, kind of unconscious, well, semi-conscious, sort of using him for support. She looks slightly malnourished, like she hasn't eaten in several days. But her legs, while unsteady, are slowly gaining strength as she walks forward with her arm over Jack's shoulder. You can see these dark brown eyes sort of unfocused but slowly regaining attention as they take in everything around them, as Jack kind of very carefully, "It's all right, I got you. And he kind of like leans her up on his shoulder and continues to walk with her. "All right, Archer, you and your buddies, you kept through on your end, so let's get out of here," he says as he sort of helps her walk. And Alexander kind of looks up. "Yes, but, well, I suppose you hunters are now aware that these things are in the city and should be keeping an eye out for them," Alexander says to you, Astrid.
Yes. We definitely will. These are dangerous.
I think you would agree they are more dangerous than perhaps a handful of vampires and werewolves.
Yes. She offers a hand to Archer.
He takes it and pulls himself up.
She'll offer her shoulder for him to lean on.
He will do so. "You know, usually it used to be me doing this for you."
Well, it's payback now.
I guess I deserve it.
Once we get out of this and you heal up a little bit, we need to sit down and have a talk.
Yeah, I think that'll be a long one.
Yes.
I need a drink. And not like blood, I need a drink.
Can you drink alcohol?
Vaguely. It doesn't stay down forever, but it does its job.
All right. Well, let's get out of here first. We'll get you a drink. She'll start leading him out.
Yeah. And so eventually, as you guys are sort of gathering around outside, eventually you see Astrid and the werewolves and vampires emerge.
I mean, they see carnage as they come out, and then just to the side of the carnage, a van with Mary Mother Jesus painted on the side, and Our Lady of Lords, and then two bikes next to it.
Nina is looking for the massive gunfight that is apparently taking place.
Yeah. So Nina, as you get to the surface, one of the first, you see as you look around, like a block or two down the road, you can see where Shakes is sort of helping people get on their feet after the aftermath of a gunfight. You can see a couple of bodies laying on the ground that are not moving. And you can see that Shakes has sort of taken a shotgun and has it slung over her shoulder and is completely ignoring it right now as she helps people to their feet.
So as I'm walking, I pop the clip of what's left of the silver rounds out. I toss it over at Sean with a think fast.
Catch.
Reload just regular bullets because you don't use silver bullets on people who silver bullets aren't for. That shit ain't cheap.
Right.
And I walk over to Shakes. Y'all okay over here?
Hi, Shake says as you approach.
Hi.
I didn't
Relax.
expect.
Not. Just here to see if you need help.
It looks like we've had a bit of a problem with privateers. Right, that doesn't mean anything to you. Right.
No, it doesn't. She looks down. Which one of these are privateers?
That one, she says, pointing at the big one that she was using as a human shield that has a bit of ice on it. To make a long story slightly less long, you remember how I told you how all of us have seen some fucked up shit?
Right.
Well, that fucked up shit wants us back.
Okay.
And the privateers are the ones who are getting paid to bring us back.
So this isn't asking this. This is me looking. Do that one and whoever else apparently looks like they might be with him, does it look like there were any taking prisoner as opposed to... Are there any survivors among the quote-unquote bad guys of this situation?
Of the ones that had been of the three privateers, no, they are all dead.
Okay, because she was going to shoot him in the head otherwise. But okay, well, congratulations, I suppose.
There's a bigger problem with that, though, because it means that privateering is taking off, and that means there's going to be more people who think that they can get away from the fucked up shit that wants us back by giving other people to them.
Right. Listen, I like you. You seem like a decent person, but that's what we call a you problem. That's not what we call an Atlanta problem. So...
I mean, gunfights in the streets of Atlanta are going to become a problem.
Yes, is absolutely bad.
But no, you're right. This is something that the court needs to solve. So
Yeah. Sure. Keep that filed away for later.
There's a court.
So
Do they have judges?
do
Clerks?
you? Are you gonna be okay for the immediate future?
survivors, fortunately, they were shooting to wound rather than to kill, so not that many people are actually down and out. There's just one that got a little unlucky.
Okay.
So, yeah, we should be able to patch people up. We've got some doctors. We should be able to get everyone out of here. How'd the ruckus go? I heard an explosion.
Big booms, dead things. Don't go down. Don't go down.
Got it. Well, if privateers know where we're at, we're going to have to move these people anyway, so it's a good thing I was around anyway.
I'm gonna pull out my wallet. I'm gonna give up whatever's in there, like probably a few $100 something. Give it over, someplace to stay, so you can find someplace to go hide and hunker down for a night at least.
She kind of takes it and what do I owe you for this?
See, this is what we mortal people call doing a favor and not expecting anything back in return, because I recognize that you're the better of two options.
It's rare to hear someone say that.
I'm a rare breed. Thank you. So I would suggest that I realize you guys are in sort of a rough state at the moment, but y'all get the fuck out of here as soon as you can.
That's the plan.
Cool.
She continues to help people to their feet and help them bandage what they can immediately and helps try and get the rest in working order to
Is
try.
Eamon above ground by now?
Yeah, by this point.
Okay.
Oh, and worth mentioning, at least one of those bills has her phone number on it.
Hey, man, what the fuck happened to you?
Well, I see. It looks like you took care of the one that got up to the fresh air.
Aye, he was a weak little bastard. Didn't even take a shot. I say, sort of, just indicating a finger because I don't have my gun on me right now.
Well, this is what happens when I killed two of them.
And exactly what size were the two that you killed?
Yeah, about half as big.
Ah, so they were even. As I come over and I begin to lay on hands.
Yeah, the hand of St. Luke.
Yeah. Spend some time. You're good. It takes me a minute, but I heal 6 wounds.
Oh, let me check and make sure because I think hand is.
Well,
I think
it's
2 successes is 1 point of lethal. 1 success is 1 point of bashing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I heal 3 of my lethal.
Yeah. How much lethal did you have?
4.
4.
Yep.
You got 1 lethal left.
I'm only 1.
Right.
Hello, much obliged. Yeah. Let's see. When Father O'Shaughnessy started talking about that, we knew it was going to come in handy.
Well, anyone else needs some healing hands? I say, looking at the rest of them as they come up. You're covered in shite, Paul.
Paul, I think, has probably settled Colleen back into the van, or wherever she's comfortable sitting, and is trying to surreptitiously pick through the remnants of the werewolf to see if there's anything useful to salvage in there.
Hey, Willie, given that these are like industrial buildings, is there any chance one of them has like a outside water hose?
and Drew just grabs it and starts hosing Paul down.
Yes, actually, I said there was a mechanic shop, and that probably includes like washing down vehicles, especially if it's like a
Yep.
warehouse district.
Oh yeah, no.
So-
They'll definitely have
so-
one.
Drew probably walks decently close to where you are investigating the bits of werewolf. Hose that way.
Paul looks up, I think, at first at Sean and then over at Drew, and gives them both I just a completely innocent smile. And it's like, right, sorry, of course, yeah, just not used to frontline sort of work. And we'll head over in that direction. Will, are there and I actually have been trying to look up and haven't found anything. Does the Aegis collect teeth or pelts or anything, or of killed werewolves?
That's more of an Ashwood Abbey thing, really.
Yeah, trophies is more like Ashwood Abbey or like the Union or the Lodge. But you never know what might be useful in terms of ritual.
Right. I mean, he's not talking. I assume we don't have trophy rooms, but I assume we probably do have a room somewhere in the labyrinth where
For research of monster parts, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go ahead and roll me just to see what you can find. Go ahead and roll me.
By the way,
to dig through werewolf guts, we'll say resolve an investigation.
by the way,
Okay.
we did have a big fucking explosion out here, so should probably be moving on sharpish before fire trucks come.
Looking to Colleen, you as well, probably.
Yeah, I could use that. By the way, something that none of you really noticed in the fight, Jonas went into the fight and has not been seen since.
Huh.
So I'll leave that to the underground
Well,
team because
fuck nuggets.
I think Paul says, not having been down that way and assuming everything is fine because nobody else has said anything. Paul says, well, I'm gonna go see if I can get hosed off. Colleen, you want to come clean up as well? And we can head out. I hear you. You're right. There's probably fire and rescue on their way in response to the gunfire and explosions, but I assume we're not leaving without Astrid and Jonas, right?
I thought Astrid was up by this point.
It's roughly at this point that Astrid is showing up with the vampires and werewolves.
Because
You know what?
because
Because
Paul
I
has
don't
the best
really have
timing.
that much. Yeah. I'll just head over to where Astrid is.
Because
Paul is constantly like, I should call in. I need to turn around the corner. Well, we're waiting for Astrid, right? Astrid comes up. Best
I
Very
think
the
this is,
old man thing of the group, though.
I think this has happened before, and Paul's just like, it's like, yeah, all right, well, let's wait for Astrid. Oh, okay. Well, sure. Let me call Neil. Oh, I wish I had $100 million. But yeah, okay. So he'll go over if he'll grab his bag out of the truck. If Colleen will come with him, they can.
Out of the van, you mean? The truck is no more.
Yes,
Not there
yes.
is anything that was left in it.
You're right. Out of the van. Sorry. And we'll go over and hose off. And he's got a couple changes of clothes. And we'll offer one of them to Colleen as well.
Yeah, she will take it.
Is it just we of the hunty variety that are here right now?
No, the vampires and werewolves are here too.
Okay.
And
I am not suggesting where we might go from here then.
We will go to a place.
Has anyone seen any of you that were down there see where Jonas went?
I was too busy trying to murder people attacking your brother.
As that's mentioned, Archer kind of looks
There was
up.
only one
Wait,
of them.
Jonas was here?
Yeah. He came down with us.
Yeah.
I thought I saw him for a second, but I didn't see him anywhere.
Are you? Oh, for fuck's sake! As Nina just turns around and starts walking down.
Eamon's right on her heels.
We probably should go. I say as my accent completely changes.
We'll call you when we find him. Y'all get
Drive.
out of here.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Drive
Guys.
somewhere and text. Drew,
Yeah.
take my bike.
Paul
Okay.
just
That's a joke. Don't drive my bike. I like my bike.
We're loaded
Paul
up.
is in the background, much like I'm doing right now. Says, and then he just goes, ugh, and pulls out his phone and calls Jonas.
Phone
Give someone the keys, though.
rings to voicemail.
Okay.
I load the.
So I was headed over to where Astrid is supporting Vampire Brother, presumably with the rest of the Supernaturals.
Mm-hmm.
Are you coming with us at this point, or are you headed off on your own for the moment?
I need a place to rest and heal before daylight, and I need a safe place away from the sun, but I'll be in touch.
You can come back with me if you like.
As much as I appreciate that, I know what, at least the rest of your friends' jobs are, and I'd like to wake up tomorrow night.
Not them, with me. You can come back to my place. They don't know where it is.
I just give him a smile.
Sure, I could use a night.
Mind riding on the bike?
It won't hurt any more than it already does.
All right.
Do
She'll
you
get
need
him
to
on the
report
bike.
Jonas's probable disappearance or something?
Is that something she'd need to report?
That's usually something that just kind of gets found out. You don't really know the reporting process. You haven't been a member of the Knights for long enough to really know what to do when another member goes missing.
I'm not sure what the protocol is there. I will just wait to see what the others find.
Well, I have let you know what I know, and you are closer to that side of it than I am.
She'll get her brother on the bike.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will load Nina's bike into the van.
Also looking to him. You understand that your chances of survival are significantly higher if your sister survives tonight.
See, I understand why you say that to me, but I don't think you've ever had a sibling if you think that's what would happen.
Tilt's head.
Saying that
There's
to
a
a
really
loser.
long moment of confused, like almost decision making. No, well, just leaves.
Yeah, like,
All right, let's get everyone washed off and packed up and get out of here.
I think Paul comes back up at this point wearing his hair and beard are all wet. He's wearing a blue tracksuit and tennis shoes.
So
And,
looking like a Russian mobster, basically.
right, exactly. That was exactly what I thought.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Nina and Eamon, you head down.
You okay over there? You're not gonna leak so much you fall over?
Fucking no, I've gotten patched up, and there's only the wee occasional spurt every once in a while.
All right. Well,
So, as you head down to the massive bodies that is throughout this large cavern where this fight took place, you see no sign of Jonas. But you also realize that while you were standing in one of the only exits, it was not the only exit.
Tracks.
In sewage.
So is it fair to say that it is an interesting mix of human, hybrid, and full wolf
Bodies? Yes.
bodies?
Yes.
And a bunch of decayed things for the vampires who died,
Yeah.
Couple of piles of ash.
Interesting.
Eamon's gonna kick around in his not terribly great abilities and try and see if he can find any clues or anything. Really?
Sure, go ahead and roll me a wits and investigation.
Okay.
I will also look.
Technically have both of those, and I will spend a willpower.
Not an attack roll.
4 successes.
Nina basically takes about 3 seconds, looks around, and then walks over to one of the dead werewolves, kicks it over, and starts looking at it. You got this. You got finding him, right?
As you look around, in the middle of a pile of several of these bodies, as you sort of shift through them to try and see if there's any tracks that might have been his that might have led anywhere out, you find his cell phone.
Well, we're gonna pocket that.
There's a call from Paul.
You better call Paul.
You good over there?
We've got his phone here.
He
Where did
dropped his phone in the middle of a fight?
Not the sort of thing you'd expect somebody to lose.
No, not unless like your pants got ripped off and then it was a very different kind of fight than I experienced.
Yet I get the impression that you have experienced that sort of fight before. At one
We're
point.
distracting from the point. Oh, you want to do me a favor and check like recent calls? Recent
Oh.
texts?
Yep, he'll swipe through and just do a cursory
The phone is locked.
Oh.
Gonna say.
And
Not everybody locks their phone.
you know his password? Do you know anybody who could crack his
6969.
password?
I do not know anybody who would know his Astrid, maybe.
Right. And unless there's anything else useful around here.
I mean, I know what I do. I know what I can do in lieu of a phone number, but we're here, and we would need to be somewhere where I had the proper computer and access to download cracking.
You're
Not
right.
an expert thing of mine, but I'm pretty good at it.
Nina is what is known as a script kiddie.
I mean, that's fairly accurate. Computer of 3, that would probably fit.
Yep.
I didn't realize that was a real term because the first time I saw it was
Oh,
in
yeah.
a Shadowrun book.
Mm-hmm.
It's legitimately a term for like hackers and coders. It's just someone who finds a script on the internet and runs it.
Yeah, no, like I didn't realize it was. But the first time I ever saw it written down was in a Shadowrun book. So I thought
And you assumed it was a
I thought it was
term
a
they made
made-up
up,
term.
right.
Shadowrun.
Yep.
There are plenty of those terms in Shadowrun that are made up.
Yeah.
Eamon's also going to look around and just on the off chance that somebody dropped a replacement weapon that got missed. Because he broke his gladius, and granted it was important, but he'd really like to have a backup.
Yep. Yeah, no.
With your 4 investigation,
Mm-hmm.
you find a dagger. And I use the term dagger loosely because it's made out of a tooth that is roughly the size of your forearm.
Oh, yes. Oh, dear.
The werewolves forgot
That
something
shit
important.
does not need gnosis, people.
Well,
I
look at
mean,
this.
It might not do as much for a non-werewolf as it does for a werewolf, but we'll see how it goes.
Nina is literally taking out like a knife, and any of the hybrids ones, she is carving off claws.
Mhm.
Because that shit will be A, research, B, will probably be useful in a fight at some point.
So he'll stash the LARP weapon.
You use every part of the kill.
And as you sort of run a hand across it, that tooth is sharp.
Well, somebody at least put the time in.
Like as you sort of run it down, this might be sharper than your gladius was.
Fascinating. And slide that into the belt. Well, if you've got some expertise at the keyboard, I suppose we should get this phone out and let everybody know that our prime contact is gone a bit missing.
Yep. Yeah. I will
Honestly, that's the most worrying thing to me, because this is almost like he ditched it.
Yeah, almost as if he didn't want to be able to be tracked, huh?
All right, well, whatever he's up to.
It does seem a really strange time to, just randomly drop your phone into the sewer and run off in the middle of a big fight.
It's not like he wore it on his belt or anything, was it?
No, he has a brain.
Right.
Or does he? He might be a wraith.
Number 3 in the top 4 worst things.
Name drop.
You think we're
Bringing
playing
it
New
back.
World. It's fair to assume that Wraith is not mechanically identical to Wraith, because that would be
You are.
bad.
There are things about the Wraith system that you can't take out of the Wraith system.
I'm not disagreeing. William, I was trying to
Yes.
someone said Jonas was here surprised. I missed who that was,
That was Archer.
which is one of the people we met last episode.
That was Astrid's brother,
That's Astrid's
the
brother.
vampire.
Thank you. Cool.
So by this point,
That clarifies some things for me.
by this point, we would likely already be gone. I'm assuming.
Probably, yeah.
We weren't waiting for them.
Yep.
And everyone's in the van. So
There's going to be a text, just whenever is appropriate, because timing. But there's going to be a text. Have phone. No Jonas. Take a roundabout route to my place.
So prior,
Which
to
is
But yeah,
within about a half-hour walk of where you're at right now.
yes, yeah, we're walking.
Do I realize I might not know this much about other hunters, but have any inclination that he might have abilities or inclinations that would lead to stealth espionage breaking off, especially because some of the people who were in that fight didn't seem to have seen him at all.
Yeah. Are you wondering if it was just something about him or something about his abilities as a hunter?
Yeah, if from what I know of the hunter patterns of this kind of hunter and the abilities he might have, might he have just like gone invisible and fucked off to espionage or something?
Roll me intelligence and occult then.
Cool. Any penalties for this being outside of my field?
-1.
Wait, that's yeah. Where's the correct roll? There we go. 1 success.
You know that Astrid is from the same organization, and from what you've seen of the Knights, they don't. Subterfuge doesn't seem like, while it's not necessarily not their thing, their supernatural abilities don't seem to be. They seem to be pretty straightforward, and they don't seem to be related to. They all seem to be relatively practical. Not so much for the stealth or espionage style.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there any chance he got written out of reality by the MacGuffin we're carrying around?
Entirely possible. Sir, I'll circle around and take a
Bad in character, obviously.
take a roundabout way to get to Nina's place, but I am not turning the van off yet. As we're sitting waiting.
How roundabout of a way do you take?
30 minutes roundabout.
Yep. So you get there right about as Nina and Eamon are walking there.
Funny how that happened.
Yeah. Roll down the window, staying in the driver's seat. So, not that I don't think your place isn't lovely and all that, but considering that we're roughly 10 minutes away from a den of unspeakably large, fuzzy evil, perhaps we might want to relocate to some place a little bit more fortifiable.
I would say two things. One, if they're after us, it doesn't matter where, because they've probably got our scent. And two, find me somewhere more defendable than a place directly above a warehouse that nobody lives in, and we can turn into a goddamn death trap if we need to.
How about a building specifically designed to not have anybody in it except for one day a
I'm
week,
not staying in a church.
that has an industrial-grade bunker underneath it,
I'm not staying in a church.
filled to the brim with ammo and weapons?
We're not.
El Churcho no stay.
See, sounds to me like you're just making a stupid decision because of some weird, odd principles you're having, rather than the smart one, which would be a place that's far more defensible.
No, I'm saying I have a moral line.
Your moral line is getting eaten in your sleep?
Paul will say, point of order. Maybe I'm wrong. Is there something you can do to a church to make it repel werewolves? Because that's previously not something of which I was aware.
Unload our armory inside it.
All right. So any building would be equally sufficient then, yes? We could find something that wouldn't be a point of contention.
Also, my brother can reinforce certain buildings.
Well, I mean, the bunker is
We're not doing
exactly
church.
transportable.
Yeah.
And Nina, your personal preferences withstanding, the bunker itself is not technically part of the church.
Look, if
It's
you guys
just
wanna
underneath
stay-
it.
If you're going to stay there, give me the phone. I'll figure out what's going on with it.
I'll look to Colleen. Come on, let's
But-
get you actual shower.
Yeah, I could use that.
Call it stubborn, call it stupid. I'm not staying there. I'm sorry.
Well,
Fair
yeah, it is both of those things, certainly.
Paul runs a finger between his eyes over the bridge of his nose and says, "All right, Eamon, is there what other locations could you fortify in a similar way?"
I mean, it depends on how much time we've got.
Fuck was that?
I heard it too.
I think there was something weird outside of my house. Sorry.
Someone was playing with a zither.
But Paul will look over to Nina and say, Look, consider it field research. Could we get away with that for one night?
No.
I'm already
Absolutely
headed up the
not.
stairs to Nina's place with Colleen.
Okay.
So,
You don't understand. This is something I think I've been pretty flexible with you guys with a lot of things. You found my line. It's nothing personal.
I mean, except that it absolutely apparently is. Since it's the church is apparently the breaking ground. That seems to be a personal thing on your end.
Yeah, no, it's personal for me. It's not personal against you, is what I'm saying.
so
I got no problem with people. I have problems with certain institutions.
Paul throws up his hands and says, "Look, have you got 2 showers?"
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Which way's the other one?
There's a shower up in the apartment, and there's one in the warehouse.
Okay. I assume Drew took Colleen to the one up in the apartment, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Paul says, "Look, then I'm going to go both figuratively and literally wash my hands of this. I'm going to go get a shower."
Fair enough.
He grabs his bag and walks off.
So, as the group prepares to settle down for another evening, trying to figure out what exactly they're going to do to try and potentially deal with the events that have just been laid out before them and the disappearance of their primary informant, that is where we're going to end for the week. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye,
everybody.
Bye.